50-50. So we continue to see some stocks like Bajaj Auto that reported good results. We didn't see too much of a reaction during market hours yesterday, but stock was up almost 2% at the start and now climbing up 3.5%. But bulk of the Nifty 50 continuing to be under pressure. Indigo, Cipla, SBI, Axis Bank and Max Healthcare are some of those which are under pressure right now. In terms of what we have seen on the sectoral heat map too, the banking index continues to be in focus yet again. Seen some pressure on the private banking index since the start of the week. Today though, you're seeing PSU banks actually taking the brunt. You're seeing Realty also taking the brunt as well. And the advanced decline ratio for the broader markets, before we start taking your stock related queries also, if you can pull those up. Now, over the last couple of days, we've seen a convergence essentially in both the advanced and the declines, a very crisscross kind of patterns. But the advanced decline ratio, if you can pull it up on screen right now, today has been a clear one where 3:1 favoring the declines right now. So that is the picture of the markets. But let me welcome in our guest now, Vaishali Parekh, Vice President Technical Research at PL Capital, and Sameer Dalal of Natwarlal and Sons Stockbrokers joining in now. Both of you, thanks so much for joining in, and a good morning to both of you as well. The first stock-related query, and this one's coming in on M&M Finance as well as Poonawalla. Both of those reported results very recently. Satyan is asking about both those counters. He's entered it, M&M Finance at 277, Poonawalla at 348. So he's sitting on good gains on Poonawalla FinCorp. But Sameer, very good morning to you. Would you recommend him to continue holding both those counters in his portfolio? The results were decent from Poonawalla, of course, and we've seen those gains built on. Any view on either of them?
A view on both of them. So M&M Finance, we continue to remain very positive on a long-term basis. They cater a lot to the rural segment, the farm segment, which sometimes does go through a bit of cyclicality, in the sense you have Q1 sometimes, which can be a little subdued. And then once you have the season where they are able to sell their product, then you see the recoveries happening. Now, for them, Q1 actually, which is supposed to be a weak quarter, has been fantastic. So for me, now if Q2 gets better, I think the stock has more potential to probably move up further. So stay put in it. I think the stock has a lot of room to move up over the next year and a half. Poonawalla FinCorp also, we remain constructive. They're growing the loan book very aggressively. They're well capitalized. They're diversified their book quite well. Yes, they do have a bit of unsecured lending and consumer lending. But, that is where they get their profitability from, right? Because those ticket loans, the interest on those are much, much higher. Stock has actually been under massive consolidation if you look at it for the last 2 to 3 years, So a lot of the premium valuation has reduced. I'm not saying it's not still a little expensive, but we feel now the worst for them is over and the stock can probably move up over a longer term. So we say stay put in both of them.
All right. The next question that we have is coming in from Ravi, who is writing us from Vijayawada, asking about Jammu and Kashmir Bank. He's got around 2,000 odd shares at the levels of 185 and wants to know the technical targets on this one. Vaishali, a very good morning to you. I'll come to you on this one. What are the charts indicating for Jammu and Kashmir Bank?
Hi, very good morning to all of you. I think Jammu and Kashmir Bank is one of the banks which is doing very well. And I think the trend still continues to be positive. Near-term support can be taken at around 175 levels and look for a target of 200-220.
All right, and welcome to the show to you as well, Vaishali. But the next question, and this one's a good one, coming in from Rajesh, who's from Hyderabad, wants to know about Sansera Engineering as well as Azad Engineering. Both those counters have actually flown over the last 3 to 4 months in trade and led by the aerospace vertical. But Sameer, is it still advisable to enter either of those counters? We've seen a strong re-rating on both of them. Would you recommend Rajesh to enter either of them right now?
So, this is a space we actually haven't covered too well. We missed out on the opportunity, so I don't have a call on it, unfortunately.
Anything on the charts, Vaishali, that you can recommend? Because, again, especially Sansera has seen a massive run-up. Is it expected to continue?
I would say it's to run up and it's in quite a forward zone. So either keep a trailing stop loss or booking partial profit should be advisable at these levels.
Okay, all right. The next one that we have is coming in the pharma space. Prashant is writing in and asking about pharma names. He's saying that because of the announcement coming in with regards to tariff on generics, a lot of pharma names, are seeing a downtick in trade today. Any of these that look attractive, have value buying, and can be entered at the current levels from a fundamental point of view is this question. Samir, I'll come to you. What would you recommend, Prashant, right now?
So value buying, no, but growth buying, yes. Yes, Donald Trump has come up with these tariff structures. After 2 years, there'll be 100, 3 years, will be 200. But Donald Trump is here for 2 more years. So hopefully, by the time we reach that phase, a government which is more, how do you put it, stable or less volatile when it comes to words, comes into power and reviews the situation without affecting the cost of medication for the general public in the US. That is our belief at this point of time, given what has just been announced on Twitter. It's not even, there's no official action on it. So having said that, we still believe that the pharma sector is here to grow. Sun Pharma continues to remain our top pick in that space. We think the branded generic side, which they're working on, is doing fantastically well and will keep growing. We also like Dr. Reddy's, which has got a few ANDAs filed there. And then in the mid-cap, we've always been seeing Torrent Pharma, but valuations there have now moved up quite a bit, unfortunately. So corrections in Torrent Pharma closer to maybe 4,200. I'm talking of a sharp correction because valuations have moved up so much. That might be a good stock to enter from a long-term growth perspective.
Got that view, Samir, and thanks so much for the detailed view as well. But the next question coming in, this one's on Paisalo. Viewer Lena from Bengaluru has been holding on to these shares for a while now. Wants to know, Vaishali, what's a near-term target that she can expect? She's asking when can he expect to reach 100, but what are you looking at the charts right now?
Well, time period cannot be defined, but I think the stock has done very well and given good returns. So continue holding. Keep a stop loss of 66 rupees, and maybe 100. I think can go in this quarter. So I guess keep a horizon of 3 to 4 months, and I think look for those targets.
All right. Okay. The next question that we have is coming in, and this is from Rajiv, who's calling us from New Delhi. Rajiv, a very good morning to you. Go ahead, ask your question.
Yeah, very good morning, ma'am. Sir, my question is from Samir, sir, because this is regarding Sterling and Wilson. Now, it reached up to 250 and now came down again. Yesterday it was 205. So I bought at 250 shares at 207 yesterday. So what's the future?
Okay. All right. Got your question, Rajiv. I'll take this up with Samir. Samir, there has to be a question on this one, right? I mean, the stock upward moment that Rajiv is talking about was on the back of order wins that it was seeing, but because of results not being up to the mark, it did see pressure in trade, right? What is your view now post Q1 earnings?
Yeah, absolutely. So the results are a little bit of a disappointment because execution didn't happen the way management had earlier guided. However, they've said that from Q3 onwards, because there were certain projects which didn't get started up in the right time, so it got delayed a bit, but by Q3 you'll see it coming up, and they have guided for doing an 8,000 crore turnover for the current financial year. So even at 8,000 crores, if we take the projections and do the numbers, we still feel the stock price should be at 350 in 1 year's time. Now, where the story and the real benefits will lie for Sterling and Wilson Solar, which I've explained a few times, is Reliance New Energy is going to be setting up 10 gigawatts of solar power every single year. I'm just saying, let's assume they can get even 30% or 40% of that, right? Of that 10 gigawatts, that's 3 gigawatts a year. Into 3 crores, you're talking of a 10,000 crore order coming to Sterling and Wilson on a yearly basis. Huge numbers that you're talking about. So for me, I think the opportunity is extremely large. This is a long-term play. You got to stay invested. Don't keep looking at it on a day-to-day basis. At least I'm not doing that. And whenever you get corrections like this, these are times to add on, which let me also put a disclaimer. I have done that yesterday. So I continue to remain very positive and think this is a long-term great investment to have.
You, Samir, it took about 7 minutes for us to get the first question on this counter, but got your view. Thanks so much for that. But viewers, as well as Vaishali and Samir, let's start taking the rapid fire round. First one's coming in from Thomas Matthew on Canara Robeco. He's holding 1,200 shares at 268. So sitting on good gains. Sameer, I think it was a bit of a surprise, right? Very good numbers since listing. I think it was very sideways on the back of poor results. Should he continue to hold now?
This is which one? Canara
Robeco AMC, yes.
This business overall, you can keep holding. Yes, results can be poor, but look, as long as the SIP flows and all of the money keeps flowing to the AMC businesses, I think that's not a problem.
Okay, the next
one
one
is the one we don't have under coverage though. I'm very positive on AMC though.
Alright, okay. The next one that we have is on Markson's Pharma. Uma from Bengaluru wants to know if this is the right time to enter into this counter from a medium-term perspective. Vaishali, what would you recommend her?
I would say so because it's come on a good support level, so this is a good level to buy.
Rainbow Hospitals, Muthu actually bought this counter at 937 approximately, so very close to the IPO price. Sameer is holding 64 shares. Should he continue to do so?
Valuations are a little bit rich. I would say book some profits out here and look for some other stock in this hospital space. This one's a bit expensive.
Okay, the next one that we have is on TD Power Systems. Our viewer Srinivas is holding 1,000 shares at the levels of 1195. A short-term target on this one, Vaishali?
As a disclaimer, this is what we have recommended. Our short-term target would be 1200 to 1250.
Next one's on HDFC Bank. We were getting a lot of queries for this. Put a special segment also in India Market Open today. But Sameer, our viewer is holding shares at 887. He wants a long-term view. Should he buy now at this price?
Absolutely. Please go out and buy. So you know what? The market's looking at the headline numbers, unfortunately, saying the growth was only 5%. But take out the benefits the profits that came from the HDB financial sales, and you see the profits have not done badly. Plus, we know that the FCNR bonds are going to come, which is going to allow them to get funds at a decent rate, 6% you're talking of, right? Versus what some of the erstwhile HDFC borrowing was at 6.5, 7.
Right.
So we're going to get that benefit coming through. So for me, profitability is now going to start only increasing. They are the largest franchise. Once the new MD, CEO gets announced, I think the stock will do really well.
Got it. The next one that we have is on Coforge. Our viewer is holding 100 shares at the levels of 1520. Hold, sell, buy. Vaishali?
Hold.
The next one's on Finolex Cables. Bought at 1025 by Keshav. Should he hold for the next 3 years, Sameer?
I'll say sell.
Okay, the next one that we have is from Kirti, who's asking about Cochin Shipyard. Sorry, this is Raghu from Bengaluru, who's asking about Cochin Shipyard. He's bought around 300 stocks at the levels of 1580. He wants to know whether he can continue to hold this one or not. Vaishali, on the charts?
May perhaps add more at 1350.
Next one's on Sagility. Sameer, the results came on yesterday. Nisha from Hyderabad wants to know if it's a good time to add into this counter now. Would you recommend that?
Yeah, I think one can. I think the prospects are good. This is a company that's growing, given guidance also of a 12% growth, which is low double digits, so anywhere in 10 to 12%. We think the margins will also expand and the profitability too will. So I think there is more upside to the stock, maybe a target of maybe 60 in 1.5 years time.
Okay, the next one that we have is on HFCL. Our viewer Nandagopal from Bengaluru wants to know whether he can continue to hold this one. He's bought at the levels of 190. Vaishali?
Yes, it continues to make new highs. Hold with a stop loss of 200.
Also, Vaishali, on Kirloskar Oil Engines, our viewer Kanan has bought at 2250. What should he do with his 30 shares now?
Stock is just consolidating. Keep a stop loss of 22,000 and hold.
Alright, the next one is from Mana, who's writing us from Mumbai, asking about Lupin. He's got 45 shares at the levels of 2287. He wishes to add more. From a fundamental perspective, is that the right thing to do? Sameer?
Wait a little, wait for the price to come closer to 2 again. I think you'll get it there, and that's better to buy.
Alright, that brings us to the end of this rapid fire round, and time to slip into a very, very short break. But don't go anywhere. We'll be right back answering more queries on the other side.
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो पतवारा हुआ रे केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी
We are over, Jimmy.
हे लाइफ में स्क्रैचेस तो आएंगे। गाड़ी के स्क्रैचेस को तो कॉस्मो पीपीएफ संभाल लेगा, आप अपना देख लो।
अंबा शक्ति प्लांट की वर्ल्ड रिनाउंड टेक्नोलॉजी देती है स्टील को ज्यादा ताकत हर बार। अंबा शक्ति SDTMT।
India Inc.'s most respected names chose India Inc.'s best and brightest.
These kind of awards and jury lineup, you are truly giving it the right weightage.
I think it's heartening to see talent that there is across India Inc.
We should be awarding companies and individuals who have focused not only on growth but also on bringing good governance. Be part of jury and vote on the people, the men, the women, the companies in India who have the right stuff is a great opportunity for us.
For us, the biggest thing is trust. That's what we provide.
And we need leaders in India that can
Welcome back. You're watching Ask Profit. A quick look as to how the markets are doing. The Nifty 50 is now trading near the crucial levels of 24,000. Just a 17 points of an uptick from those levels is what we're seeing. We'll have to see as to how that fares throughout the day in trade today. Down by about 0.7%. The Bank Nifty is also down by about 1%. Continues to be under pressure. Now around the 57,200 odd levels, and that's something that we'll be watching out to in terms of where the Bank Nifty goes. Largely today driven by names like Bandhan Bank, of course. But you also have the VIX, which is up by about 3.5% around that 13 mark. 14 is where the risk begins, so that's something also that we'll be watching out for. The broader markets also continue to be under pressure. The mid cap 150 mirroring the benchmarks right now, down by about 0.6%, but the small cap 250 is slightly more under pressure, down by about 1%. Some stock specific name, if you can try to pull up the BSE 500 and see as to what are the names that are buzzing in trade right now. Very stock specific, news flow specific, earnings specific is what we're seeing. Of course, this is Nifty Pharma, but let's also try to pull up the BSE 500. You have something like a Bandhan Bank on the back of guidance cut down 15%. MedPlus Health also on the back of weak earnings down 15%. Sunteck Realty again on the back of weak earnings. Granule, India Mart, all of these on the back of weak earnings, seeing the downtick coming in trade. But on the flip side, you have something like a Uflex, which is doing very well in trade, up 8.6%. M&M Finance on the back of strong earnings, up 7.5%. Data Patterns also up by about 7%. So that's with regards to Bazaar Auto finally reacting in trade today, up 3.7% as well. So that's with regards to where the markets go. But let's take in the next question, and this one's coming in from Muthu, who's writing us from Chennai. I think we've taken this question. The next one is on Karur Vysya Bank. This is from Mohan, who's writing us from Coimbatore, and he's asking if this is the right levels to buy this count or not. Vaishali, what would you recommend on the charts for Karur Vysya Bank?
No, I would not say to buy because it's already coming towards a weekly resistance. About 350, it would go to 370. So if you want to be a risky trader, you may do so.
I think we've got our next caller, Shweta. I think is calling us from Hyderabad. Shweta, a very good morning to you. Go ahead, ask your question.
Hi, Mahima. Very good morning. Before asking my query, I would like to thank Mr. Samir sir because his detailed analysis always helps us in choosing the right stocks. So I would like to say thank you to him. And today my query is regarding Vari Energies. I have 40 shares at the average price of 3,300.
Okay.
So, and I also hold Samir sir's favorite stock, Sterling and Wilson also.
Okay.
Both of them are at the average for 15% loss. I'm holding both of them. I would like to know whether I should add them at these levels, average them, or should I shift one stock into another? Should I sell one stock and should I shift to another one?
Okay, got your question. I'm not sure if we have Samir back because we were facing some technical glitch with him. Is Samir back with us? If not, I think Shweta, you'll have to wait for a while and then I'll take the question. Do we have Samir? Okay, I don't think we have Samir, but I'll take this up with Vaishali, and once Samir is back, Shweta, keep watching us. I'll definitely take your query. But Vaishali, on the charts for Vari Energies, what would you recommend, Shweta?
So I would say Vari Energy currently is going through some corrective move. I would say if you have to add more, add near 2500 to 2300 levels. That would be the level because right now it was on a downward growth. So the trend is down. So I think wait for a dip and add more because for long term perspective, this would still do well. The other stock that you mentioned is Sterling and Wilson. I am technically it is not supporting my views, so just continue holding.
The next one that we have is coming in on MedPlus. This is from Siddharth Chaturvedi, who's writing us from Jaipur, asking if this is the right time to enter this counter after the fall that we've seen. Vaishali, it's largely on account of weak earnings that this stock is hammered in trade today. But do you think that these are the right levels to make an entry from a technical standpoint?
I would say no because there is no reversal. We need to wait for some clarity. So if you still have to, I would say just keep today's low as stop loss and get into the trade.
All right. Okay. The next one that we have is coming in from Arvind Maheshwari, who's asking about CESC, and he wants to know whether, from a 6 months perspective, is this a good counter to continue to hold? He's looking at the technicals probably. Vaishali, what would you recommend him?
I would say yes. The long-term chart looks quite intact, and this level is good to add more if you have bought at higher levels. And I think in times to come, this can go towards 200 to 20.
All right. Okay. The next one that we have is on Medi Assist. Peter from Trichy has bought it at the levels of 385. 20 shares is what he's been holding. He wants to know if he can average at the current levels. Would you recommend that, Vaishali?
Well, I don't have much of a data, but I would say if you have to add about 360, 365, the stock needs to sustain about that to give a clarity and confirmation that yes, it's likely to show strength.
Okay, all right. I think we've got Samir back, and Samir, we'd got a caller, Shweta, who was, by the way, praising about the way you've, given detailed analysis about the stocks that you have conviction on, and she's also asking about Vari Energies because she's saying that she's holding both Sterling and Wilson and Vari Energies in her portfolio. Should she switch from one to another? Is her question, or should she continue to hold both?
Yeah, so that. First of all, thank you for the kind words. I heard it. I mean, I could hear, but I guess my connectivity was not there. But having said that, they're two separate businesses. Sterling and Wilson is a pure EPC player versus Vari Energies is a company that makes the solar panels, which is now backward integrating into solar cells, which is getting into battery energy storage. So that they're all part of the same renewable solar energy space, but they're catering to different parts of the business. So with EPC work, you get a flat 10% margin, 8 to 10% margin, which you make money out of. The risks can be lower, but there always remains one risk that growth slows down. And why we are so convinced on Sterling and Wilson Solar is because we believe growth for the next 5 to 10 years is going to be fantastic when it comes to renewable energy. Now, Vari Energies unfortunately caters to a space which is very overcrowded when it comes to solar panels, right? And that space is getting crowded in India. Reliance is also going to be launching its own solar panels. I think Adani is doing it as well. So once all of that comes on, the pricing power may not lie in the hand of these companies. So from that perspective, we find Vari a little bit more risky. At this price, I would not recommend you sell out, but on bounces closer to 3,000, yes, take your money out. The stock becomes a buy to us closer to 2,000, like maybe even below 2,000. Till that point, we are not as convinced that this is a long-term, high-return generating asset.
Okay, all right. The next one that we have is coming in on SBI funds. Arvind Manjeshwar is holding around 100 odd shares, and he wants to know whether he can continue to hold this one or not. He's of course gotten the allocation in the recent IPO. Any view on this, Samir?
Yeah, love that. I told you this when we asked about. I think the mutual fund industry is something that is going to do really well. Mahima, if you give me a minute to explain this. This is an industry that even if they don't get fresh SIPs, which they're getting by the dime and dozen of fresh investment, if the markets give a 12% return year on year, this industry can grow at 12% year on year without any fresh investment coming in. Now, let's talk about the fact that you have fresh investments happening. And once mutual funds returns start doing better, you see bulk of money starting to flow. Actually, the last 2 years returns have been subpar, pathetic, whatever you want to say, because the markets have not done well. So we are saying now wait for the markets to do well. And when the fund flows for them increase, you will see the operating leverages play out. And these stocks will all probably be up 30 to 40 to 50% over the next 2 years. So please stay invested. SBI Fund Management is the largest player in the space, trading at a discount to all the other peers, has the best reach thanks to SBI Bank being the parent and pushing their AMC app business. I think this is a stock that one should definitely hold in their portfolio.
Okay, so that's of course on SBI funds, but we have Nestle Q1 earnings that are flashing on your screen down there. Net profit has beaten estimate with a 975 crore versus that of an 836 odd crore, and we're seeing that spike coming in the counter as well, 3.6% of an uptake. Revenue also is slightly better than what the street was expecting. The expectation was around 6,000 odd crores, but it's come in at 6,300 odd crores. So both in terms of revenue and net profit, it's a beat. It will be interesting to watch out for as to how the EBITDA number fares. But I think in terms of standalone numbers for both the top line and the bottom line, it seems to be a beat. Net profit of 975 odd crore versus that of an 836 crore of an expectation. Even, for Nestle, the commentary will be interesting because last quarter, what they did was the ad spends were significantly higher. And on the back of that, we've seen, the top line growth coming in for this one continuously. And I think that's happened this quarter as well, because when we spoke to Manish Tiwari last quarter, he said that ad spends and advertisement spends are going to be at these levels, and that's going to push the top line going forward, and fewer and bigger bets is what they're going to focus on. EBITDA number flashing on your screen there, 1,500 odd crores versus that of an expectation of 1,300 odd crores, and margins have significantly seen a beat. I think the expectation was around 22.3 odd percent, but 24.1% margins is what is being flashed on your screen. So margins definitely an interesting one, because this has been a crucial quarter, an interesting quarter where we have seen inflation rising. But despite of that, if they're able to beat in terms of where margins go, it's sure shot a good set of numbers. And we're seeing that in terms of where the numbers, the stock also is reflecting, because we've seen the spike coming in on this one. Also, the commentary will be interesting to watch out for because, they've said that they further accelerated operational cost savings, and this is the reason as to why their EBITDA is a beat. In terms of advertising spends, of course, it was over 40%, but despite that, the EBITDA margin has been around 24 odd percent. Confectionery as a group has recorded another volume-led double-digit growth. This was, of course, led by market share gains continuing in some names like Kit Kat as a brand. Powdered and liquid beverages is which has recorded another strong and consistent performer. This is the 20th quarter where they've seen double-digit growth in this particular segment. For something like a Nespresso, it's seen a good traction. Of course, this is at a very nascent stage, but this has also seen a good traction. Prepared dishes and cooking aids has also seen strong double-digit growth with engagement from urban consumers is what the press release is saying. Milk and nutrition products has also seen strong broad-based performance built with an underlying volume growth across brands and channels. The delivery was supported by disciplined brand investment in strengthening category is what they're saying. Pet food business has also seen a double-digit growth as per the press release coming in. General trade has continued to see a strong double-digit growth for Nestle, and rural distribution touchpoints have been expanding and it's something where they are focusing on more technology-led growth. Plus, in terms of where milk procurement stands, I think that is where they've probably been able to crack the game and are probably making that mark, and on the back of that, the margins are also seeing an uptick coming in. I think we're joined by Gaurav Sharma, Associate VP, Head of Research at Globe Capital, joining us now. Gaurav, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us at short notice. But Nestle earnings are out. Any quick first take on this one? Because margins definitely is a strong beat despite of the inflationary pressures that we've seen.
Hi, very good morning to you. So yes, certainly this is a very positive surprise coming in from Nestle. Although Nestle was among the very few companies to give a price hike very early, and that was actually reflecting and positively impacting its share price as well. But this particular performance in a quarter where there was inflationary fears, prices were mounting higher, raw material supply was clearly a challenge, and the company is still managing to have a increase in terms of margin. I think this is huge. We were expecting a 30% uptick in terms of PAT. This is even higher, and I think This is just because the company is able to maneuver the prices in a much better manner as expected. So therefore, a clear thumbs up to Nestle and the management, the way they have been able to manage things for themselves. Even on the charts front, the stock is looking very much upbeat, one of the better placed of the lot. So clearly, we see more upside coming in the stock in the immediate near term.
One of the other fact is that, all of the categories have seen double-digit growth, and there is volume growth also coming in. Of course, they've not given the volume numbers per se, which they never give, but across brands, and this has been the case for last so many quarters, right? What do you make of this? And this is on account of the ad spends that they've done so far in the last quarter, this quarter as well, which is beyond that 40% mark. Do you think this growth trajectory should continue in entire FY27, and do you think that this is one of the pockets in FMCG that will significantly outperform peers?
This is pretty much possible because the past performance clearly suggests that they are managing things really well, much better than the peers. The kind of margin uptick, the kind of volume, we were expecting a 10-12% of growth. Although the numbers are yet to, I need the details of it. But the prima facie, whatever comes to me, this is very, very stellar set of numbers, much beyond our expectations.
Make in terms of where volume growth goes, because the expectation was in high single digits to low double digits. Any estimate that you have in terms of the consolidated volume growth that would have been done by Nestle?
We were expecting a 10 to 12% growth, Naima.
It should be around that.
These numbers suggest the real figure could be much higher than that. Because a 2% or 2.5% of uptick in terms of profitability would not have a 48% rise. We will have to dig deeper into the numbers actually to see what led to such an exponential rise in terms of fact figures. This is clearly very surprising.
Very surprising. And yes, the stock is holding up for sure. I think we're also joined by Aditya Shah, founder of Hercules Advisors, joining us now. Aditya, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for taking out the time. Your first take on Nestle earnings, because it seems to be beat on all fronts.
Yes, good set of numbers. Margins at about 24%. Revenue growth also looks really very strong. Revenue growth at about 30-40% looks really very good. So from my perspective, volume growth should be in double digits. Good set of numbers.
Because the price hike has not been that much, right? Because as Gaurav was also mentioning earlier, that the expectation was around 10 to 12%, but the revenue growth for standalone at least has been around that 25% mark. So most certainly, the volume growth has to be in at least mid double digits, or at least around that 15 to 16% mark is what we are guessing. But Aditya, I was asking Gaurav also about this. Do you think that this is one of the counters that should significantly outperform from the entire FMCG pack? Because of course, other than Nestle, I think Marico, Tata Consumer are some of the other names that definitely people will be watching out for in terms of where double-digit growth stands. But do you think that the last 2 quarters have kind of signaled the fact that this will outperform its peers in the FMCG space?
Down year on year, so I think that would have aided the margin really well. Volume growth at about 10 to 15% is a really very good show. Now, we need to understand, are there any other cost pressures that the company has? Otherwise, the company will do well also over the period of next 2 to 4 quarters.
Okay, all right. Okay. So that, of course, is Aditya Shah and Gaurav. Thank you so much to both of you for taking out the time and, speaking with us, and, of course, giving your take on Nestle coming in. But most certainly, viewers, a good set of numbers from Nestle. 3.5% of an uptick is what we are seeing on the stock. And this is on the back of course, strong earnings. Sameer, any quick take on Nestle if you had the chance to see the numbers or the press release?
So while you were talking, I did have a quick glance through the numbers. They look extremely good. But you also got to look at it from a fact that, look, Q on Q, the numbers are a little subdued. And this is a FMCG business which should not have seasonality to it to a large extent, right? So we also need to see why there's a Q on Q dip in revenue. Second, they also have this new product that has been launched, which is your Nespresso capsules. I think a lot of that is going to be coming through in the growth. That will take a decent amount share of the growth from the previous year, which didn't exist. So new product category has kind of helped as well. Now, if you look at the valuation multiples, if I project him to do about 22 rupees EPS in the current financial year, let's stretch it because he's done really well to even 25. You're still trading at expensive valuations, right? You're still trading at 60 times 1 year for 9 months forward. And if I take another 15% growth also on that, on top of that, you're still trading at 44 times the earnings. So risk reward is not in favor right now. You're playing a story of growth. FMCG is a very competitive space. So at this point of time, at this price, I would not be buying. The results were buying.
All right, okay. So that's the view coming on Nestle. But let's also, circle back to all your stock-related questions. I think we've got our next question on Gravita India. Ravi from Hyderabad wants to know as to whether this is the right counter to hold in the recycling space, and whether from a short-term perspective, what are the targets that one could see on this? And he's not given the buying price yet, Vaishali, but what would you recommend on Gravita India?
I would say this full sector is doing well, and I think it should be kept in your portfolio. Gravita, I would say, yes, it is trending, and if time is not the worry, then I think this can gradually go towards 2200-2300 levels to start with. So my view would be to accumulate with support of 1650. So buy it every dip to look for higher targets.
All right, okay. The next one is on HDFC Bank. We already took a fundamental view from Samir on this one, but this is from Lavanya, who's writing us from Nellore, and she wants a short-term view. She's got around 300 shares, bought at the levels of 815. She wants to know, from a short-term perspective, can she continue to hold this one or not? Vaishali, what would you suggest on the charts?
I think the damage, the corrective move is pretty much done with. So finally, now keep a stop loss of 740 and continue holding.
Right, okay. The next one that we have is coming in on Fortis. This is from our viewer Shrikant, who's asking about Fortis, and he wants to know if this is the right time to maybe buy this one and average out. Though he's not given us the buying price of this one, but any view on Fortis Health, Samir?
Yeah, I don't know why you'd say average out, because I think this is very close to its lifetime highs, right? So if you're a long-term investor, I think the valuations are quite rich at this point of time. We don't deny the fact that, look, these hospital beds, the occupancy rates as they keep rising will definitely make valuations look better because the operating leverages will start playing out. Plus, they have a good growth pipeline ahead of them. But you want to make money over the next 2 to 2.5 years, you're not going to really do it at these valuations. You will get subpar returns of 6-8% maybe CAGR, which is pathetic. So for me, I'd find something to invest in and avoid this for the bank.
Right, okay, it's time for our rapid fire round now. Vaishali and Samir, try to keep your answers as short as possible. The first one is on SJV, and Ajay wants to know, from a long-term perspective, is this a good buy, and is this a good time to buy? Samir?
Yeah, one can add on to it.
Okay, the next one is on Sobha. From a 1-year perspective, Murli from Hyderabad wants to know as to what should be the upside. His buying price is 666. Vaishali, your view on the charts on this one?
Well, short term would be around 1600, but for that 1400 needs to be held on. So keep a stop loss of 1400.
Okay, the next one is on IndiaMart Intermesh. A good time to enter into this counter. It's hammered, of course, on the back of weak earnings. But Vaishali, what would you recommend?
Well, I don't have this chart.
Okay, the next one then is on Varun Beverages. Is this the right time to enter into Varun Beverages? Jacob wants to know from a long-term perspective. Samir, what would you recommend?
Yes, absolutely. Please go ahead and buy. Very strong fundamentals.
Okay, the next one is on BSE. Manju from Bengaluru is holding 45 shares at the levels of 3945. A good time to buy this counter. Vaishali, what would you recommend?
Yes, I would say so. But even if on declines, say around 3200, add more.
Okay, the next one that we have is on PG Electroplast. From a long-term perspective, is this the right time to enter? I mean, it's fallen around 5% in trade today, almost 6% now. Do you recommend a buy on this one right now?
No, I don't recommend a buy on this. I think there are other counters you can look at in the similar space of EMS where you can make better returns.
Okay, all right. The next one that we have is on JSW Energy. This is from our viewer who's writing us from Tamil Nadu. He or she wants to know whether to enter this counter right now from a perspective of 1 year. Vaishali, JSW Energy, what would you recommend? Vaishali, JSW Energy is the counter. Okay. It's up just by about 0.4%. I think we've got some technical glitch.
Trending
Do you have the
zone,
charts
so 520.
now? Okay. Go ahead.
Yes. So 520 is the support, and if 6 months you said, right, is the horizon, then look for a target of 620.
1 year is the time horizon, sorry.
Yeah, so 620, 640 should be the near-term target, and from there on we can have a relook.
All right, okay. The next one is on Dr. Reddy's. Tulsi from Hyderabad is holding 70 shares at the levels of 1264. She says she's down by about 6% Should she continue to hold? She bought it seeing the fundamentals. Sameer, what would you recommend?
So if you bought the fundamentals from long-term, stay put. If you're looking for a short-term exit, I mean, better to ask Vaishali.
Okay, the next one that we have is from Shankar, who's writing us from Bengaluru, asking about IRIDA. He's got around 1260 odd shares at the levels of 135. He wants to know from a 2 months perspective, can he continue to hold, maybe add more at the current levels? Vaishali, what would you recommend him?
Actually, there's nothing much happening. So now that you're holding, hold with a stop loss of 115. Conviction and strength comes only above 130. So that would be the way to look at it.
All right, okay. The next one that we have is on ONGC. Lavanya from Bengaluru has bought it at the levels of 248. 1,000 shares is what she's been holding. From a short-term perspective, again, Vaishali here, what would you recommend on the charts?
Short-term, look for a target of 265, 268.
Okay, the next one that we have is coming in on IFL Finance. Anil Nair from Abu Dhabi is holding 580 shares at the level of 630. He's been holding patiently for the last 2 years. Can he continue to hold further, Sameer?
No, IFL Finance, no coverage.
Okay, any view on the charts, Vaishali, for IFL Finance?
It's a gradual move, so 540 to 580 to 600, but my preference would be M&M Finance.
Okay, the next one that we have is coming in on Gaudium IVF. Dilip from Kolkata wants to know from a long-term perspective whether Max Health is a better one or Gaudium IVF is the better one to enter into. Sameer, any view?
Neither, I would say, but if I had to pick one of the two, Max Health.
Okay, the next one is coming in on Sirma SGS. Balwant Modi from Rajkot wants to know if this is the right time to make an entry. Vaishali, on the charts?
So Sirma SGX already gone up. I would say ideal level to get in would be at around 1250.
All right, okay. So that brings us to the end of this rapid fire round as well as Ask Profit. Sameer and Vaishali, thank you so much for taking out the time and helping us answer almost 52 queries that we managed to answer in this show. But you know what, viewers, after a pause of 13 years, one of the most prestigious honors in Indian business is back. On July 26th, NDTV Profit brings back the Business Leadership Award, celebrating the leaders, companies and entrepreneurs who have helped shape India's economic journey. The next category is of course Philanthropist of the Year. This award honors an individual or family whose philanthropic contribution has delivered measurable transformative impact across education, healthcare, climate action, civil society and public welfare, demonstrating leadership beyond profit. Shiv Nadar donated around 2,708 crore rupees, topped the Hurun list for the 4th time in 5 years. Azim Premji donated around 147 crore rupees through Azim Premji Foundation in FY25, and Nandan Nilikini and Rohini Nalikini jointly contributed over 500 crore rupees towards climate, education and civil society. Nitin and Nikhil Kamath frequently recognized as the youngest philanthropists for their 147 crore rupees contribution through Rainmatter Foundation. Sushmita Bakshi, she gave away 90 crore rupees to healthcare in Odisha. Alright, so that was of course the entire list of philanthropists that of course we have for our Business Leadership Awards. But with that, we're completely out of time on this edition of Ask Profit. But do stay tuned in. KYC comes up next.
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे, केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार, विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी।
We are over, Jimmy.
हे, लाइफ में स्क्रैचेस तो आएंगे। गाड़ी के स्क्रैचेस को तो कॉस्मो पीपीएफ संभाल लेगा, आप अपना देख लो।
अंबा शक्ति प्लांट की वर्ल्ड रेनाउंड टेक्नोलॉजी देती है स्टील को ज्यादा ताकत, हर बार अंबा शक्ति SDTMT
that are propelling India to what we call the Viksit Bharat stage. Those are demographics, democracy and digitization. These three things are instrumental in creating what we hope is a new India, a more bold India, a more braver India in the next few years.
India's unshakable news habit. NDTV.com is India's #1 English news website. India Inc.'s most respected names chose India Inc.'s best and brightest.
I'm delighted to be chairman of such distinguished fellow businessmen, bankers. It's just lovely to be back on this NDTV jury. I have been a fan of NDTV for a long time.
Many of the nominees are extremely close together in terms of what they've done.
I think it's also important that how they are reshaping the industries, commercial activities which they are into. And it's a very judicious mix of people to choose from. My compliments to the team.
Who will earn India's top business honors? Find out at the NDTV Profit Business Leadership Awards.
The news.
Hello and welcome to KYC. You are watching NDTV Profit with me, Sharad Dubey, and this is a very interesting show where we get you interesting companies, interesting stories, and yes, if there is an alpha to be made or not. Let's try to understand what company we are talking about today, but before that, very interesting hints I'm going to give you. It's a multi-specialty hospital chain in West India, and if you are in and around Thane and Pune, you know which company I'm talking about. Also, it was recently listed in September 18, 2023, not so much of a history in the markets right now. And another interesting take is the company has a planet's name, and I've showed you the logo also. I'm sure you must be guessing it by now. It's a very large planet, and stock has more than doubled up from the IPO price as well. So try to understand which company I'm talking about, and yes, you must have guessed it by now. It is Jupiter Lifeline Hospitals. This is the company which we are talking about, but the question remains is, why are we getting this company? What are the questions to be asked? What will be the conversation with the management, the growth expansion plans and the key timelines, which are the areas they are actually functioning? We'll try to make you understand that. Also, the second important question is in and around that expansion, especially on the Pune South Hospital and the Dombivli. This is the Mumbai metropolitan region part. Also, the current occupancy rates, operational bed capacities, and all the operational setup and the outlook going ahead. Also, we'll try to understand the capex plans ahead and how will this be funded. The company is focusing largely on greenfield momentum, or you could say the greenfield setup. So that's something we'll look out for. And the land banks, any other land banks are there for acquisitions or not, that's also something which we'll be tracking. And any plans on entering new segments like the pharmacy. It's like an ancillary. When you develop an hospital, other services also come up. But yes, it's in its infancy stages, at least in its business cycle. It's growing right now. The debt reduction plans, if any, or any other fundraise, because when you expand, especially greenfield, there is a pressure to develop an hospital, other services also come up. But yes, it's in its infancy stages, at least in its business cycle. It's growing right now. The debt reduction plans, if any, or any other fundraise, because when you expand, especially greenfield, there is a pressure. Ankit Thakur, the MD and CEO
of Jupiter Lifeline will be talking to us on this. But let's try to understand the company. What does this company actually do? I'm sure a lot of folks in Western India know this, but for everyone else, it's a multi-specialty hospital chain, and now they're expanding. And interestingly, they have one hospital in Indore also, listed on September 18, 2023. Also, let's look at the other key details. There are 4 hospitals in MMR, 2 in Pune and 1 in Indore. Looking at the entire picture, how things pan out: 3,000 total bed capacity, 1,248 operational beds, and roughly 30 specialities. You name it, and they have it. Fourth quarter financials were hit by a drag of OPEX losses and depreciation. There was a little bit of selling pressure in the company, but this is a very important corporate action. And just in a couple of days, on July 24th is a record date for the share split which they have announced. That's 1:2. So this is a very important corporate move. You should be getting that. Abu Dhabi Investment Authority has roughly 1.04% stake in the company. So that's of course a good sign because of an institutional support. But before you analyze a hospital company, these are the abbreviations you should be knowing. IP means inpatient, which is admitted to the hospital. OP is outpatient, which receives treatment but does not stay in the hospital. This is very important if you are learning how to analyze a hospital company. And APROB is nothing but average revenue per occupied bed. It looks very technical. It is not. It's very simple. ARPP, hospital revenue, is divided by the inpatient volume. So next time somebody asks you these important ratios, you will be having these answers. Also, the management commentary has been strong. Thane, Pune and Indore hospital is performing on the expected lines. That's what they shared in the fourth quarter. Also, they have mentioned the Pune South construction progress is in the scheduling. So, 2 important management commentary coming up. Apart from this, we also have the IPD OPD volume breakup. The inpatient volume breakup is just 5% right now. The majority of it, 95%, still is in the OPD segment. Also, apart from this volume breakup, the story moves on the Indian healthcare industry, how things pan out. It's valued at $193 billion for the hospital segment, and look at that, almost 8% CAGR growth, expectations of $365 billion. Also looking at how things move, especially with the Ayushman Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. So that's also an important scheme which is being there from the central government, and other regulatory support coming in for the specialized therapy. So these are key triggers for the Indian healthcare industries to move ahead. Other capacity addition details are also out here. This is of course in Dombivli. This is Pune 2.0. Another project they have in Meera Bhayandar, and last but of course very much focus is there on BKC. And this is the overall details which are there. The bed capacity we can see on the screen as well. But what may work for Jupiter Hospital? Analysts remain bullish. That's the first point. Second point is the steady growth in the operational parameters. That's what we have seen, and it's doing well over the last 4 to 5 years. Industry tailwinds are there in the long term, especially well. The hospital theme is there, and that's why they are commanding premium valuation and strong expansion plans at play as well, be it greenfield or brownfield. Also, what may not work for the company, the return ratio margins may be compressed due to the expansion. That's the first point. Second point, the execution risk, especially when you have a greenfield project. That means that you have to start it right from the beginning. So execution risk might be there. Valuations are fairly expensive in this sector and even for the company, and I'll get you the peer analysis but in a while. So this is the entire picture for Jupiter Lifeline. But KYC ratings, what are there? I have tweaked it a bit because this is a hospital company. I have got in operational parameters here in my analysis, and of course we are going to miss out on the return ratios because it's largely known how a model works. Also, shareholding street rate, these are the usual ones, we have kept it, but valuations, I have got 5 hospital companies where we'll get the valuations. Is it the cheapest, expensive or fairly valued? And lastly, the analytic. How is the street looking like? Is it fully bullish or is there a mixed sentiment? So this is the entire picture for the rating parameters, but let's start with income statement and see what's the story for Jupiter Lifeline Hospitals. And largely the CAGR numbers are pretty decent for a hospital company to grow in this business cycle. 19% CAGR coming in. The PAT numbers also have started moving. That's why I had mentioned you about steady operational parameters. Let's have a look at how the numbers have panned out, especially on the margin front. It's been very stable, 21, 23, 23, 23. It looks like it's the similar margins is being made. And remember, the company is going through expansion, so there is some value accretion happening, a little bit of operational leverage also. Fourth quarter was impacted, and the reason I had mentioned earlier, the depreciation losses and the expansions coming in. But net the numbers are satisfying, so I've given this a strong thumbs up. Balance sheet, remember, whenever there's an expansion, there is borrowings, there is some stretching, and that's what's happening here in FY26. Look at this amount, that's 501 crore rupees. So balance sheet does seem to be a bit stretched. Around 58 crore of cash is there. So of course the expansion is there, so a little bit of stretch would be there. So I'm going to give this a neutral rating. So we spoke about income statement, we spoke about balance sheet. Let's understand the cash flow segment, how things pan out, and largely the cash flow is also kind of neutral. We could say no major jump has happened from the cash flow from operation, but a little bit of aberration because more investing activities are panning out. The conversions are decent when it comes to the flows with the EBITDA. So let's keep it a neutral rating when it comes to the cash flow segment. So we are done with 3 ratings. Let's move on to the 4th rating, how important this is. And yes, it's very much important if you are tracking a hospital company, and I've taken operational parameters here. We have mentioned the average occupancy rates. It was earlier 54% in FY22, but after that it has increased but kind of stabilized over the last 3 to 4 years, coming in at roughly 62 odd %. Of course, there's a Dombivli occupancy at play as well, so a little bit of adjustment plus minus 1%, but this is the ratio to look at. From 48,711 rupees, call it inflation, call it the pricing, call it the value addition, the momentum has come to almost 68,000 for FY26. So that has shown a good strength. Of course, the IPD, OPD volumes have also picked up. So net, I have given this a strong thumbs up when it comes to the operational parameters. Let's understand the shareholding, and remember, take things with how the analysis has happened. The promoter stake has been unchanged largely at around 41%, and very minor changes happening in the institutions. That means they are still holding it up when it comes to the stake. So right now, as of now, net, it's a neutral rating as well. Apart from shareholding, let's talk about street cred. How much stock has actually given the returns? Remember, the stock was listed in the year 2023. So from there, at the IPO price, the stock has doubled up 2.2 times. So somebody is holding and showing patience in this counter. Congratulations. In the short term also, we see from April lows, the stock has recovered and is up 30%. But in middle, there was a volatility at play as well. But net, I would still give this a neutral rating. Let's talk about valuations, and I had promised you earlier that there would be 5 companies where I'll get you the valuation. The 12-month forward PE ratio, this is what we are talking about. Jupiter Life is at 42 times here. It's on the lower side, slightly cheaper, but remember the entire sector is slightly expensive. It's a defensive also, so a lot of institutional interest comes here. 62 times. We have KIMS Hospital, that's also trading at one of the highest levels. Of course, we have Rainbow and Apollo Hospitals as well, that's around 49 times. So this is the entire picture for the valuations, but the last important criteria is the analyst stake. What are the analysts doing? 8 analysts are actually tracking the stock. None of them have a sell or a hold, but 100% buy coming in from this. So of course there is a good momentum, but remember the 12-month target price, because the stock has gone up, is around 1640. So the risk reward ratio as of now, not that good, or I could say valuations might not be that attractive. So this is the entire picture we have taken for analyst stake, and it's a strong thumbs up. But let's get you all the ratings together. Where does this actually stand? How things move? And I like to point out the income statement has done well, neutral stance for balance and cash flow, but operational parameters, the hospital has done well. Shareholding, street cred, we could say largely neutral. Valuations, also I have given a neutral rating, and analyst stake has been strong. But let's give you the total picture of how things look. Don't worry about the missing numbers, all the numbers are here. So you don't have to worry about it. It's 5.5 out of 8. It's on the higher side of the average numbers which we generally give our company, and that is Jupiter Lifeline Hospitals for you. But our conversation doesn't end here. Our conversation continues with Ankit Thakur. He's the MD and CEO of Jupiter Lifeline Hospitals, where he will answer all our doubts and queries, but everything just after a short break.
Superstar Stocks of the Day, presented by Tata Azura. हर रास्ते का सुपरस्टार.
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी
We are over, Jimmy.
हे, लाइफ में स्क्रैचेस तो आएंगे। गाड़ी के स्क्रैचेस को तो कॉस्मो पीपीएफ संभाल लेगा। आप अपना देख लो।
अंबा शक्ति प्लांट की वर्ल्ड रेनाउंड टेक्नोलॉजी देती है स्टील को ज्यादा ताकत हर बार।
पीपीएफ संभाल लेगा। आप अपना देख लो।
अंबा शक्ति प्लांट की वर्ल्ड रेनाउंड टेक्नोलॉजी देती है स्टील को ज्यादा ताकत हर बार। अंबा शक्ति SDTMT।
India Inc.'s most respected names chose India Inc.'s best and brightest.
These kinds of awards and jury lineup, you are truly giving it the right weightage.
The eminent juries who are here, and that itself speaks for the commitment towards highlighting the advantage which India is having. What I am looking for in this is that we should be awarding companies and individuals who have focused not only on growth but also on bringing good governance.
Be part of jury and vote on the people, the men, the women, the company.
Hello and welcome back to Know Your Company. We are joined in by Dr. Ankit Thakkar. He's the MD and CEO at Jupiter Lifeline Hospitals. Good afternoon, Doctor. It's always a pleasure to have you with us, and a lot of expansion announcements are coming in, and just maybe if you could give us a little bit of flavor about that, and how things are moving for the company.
Hello, good afternoon. Pleasure to be back. So on the expansion front, the most recent expansion has been Dombivli. We commissioned it in the last quarter of the previous financial year, February end. We started Dombivli. We have 3 more hospitals on the way. Pune South is under construction, scheduled to start sometime in calendar year 28. We are absolutely on track. No chances of any negative surprises there. We are doing 2 more in the Mumbai region. One in Mira Road and one in BKC, and both those projects will follow the Pune South.
Right. So everything is going as per the plans which was earlier disclosed as well. No delay, or you could say any kind of changes, right?
Absolutely.
Fair enough. But let's talk a little bit about operational numbers. I know you are in the silent period. We do not want the exact numbers. We just want to understand whether it's going up or down, just a little bit on that, on the current occupancy rates, the operational bed capacities, what are the targets for the long term?
Yeah, so qualitatively, I think it is pretty much similar. Thane is in the mid 70% occupancy range. Pune is high 60s, and Indore is about 50 odd percent. That is the zip code of occupancy over the last couple of months. And going forward, of course, all hospitals are designed to peak out their occupancy in the 75 odd percent range, after which it does not become possible to increase further occupancy at any hospital. Dombivli is in its infancy, just in its first quarter, so too early to talk about occupancy numbers there. It will take some more time to start flowing in cash.
Right, and any new geographies which you are thinking that there can be an addition to your portfolio, because I know it's largely West Indian product. There's a little bit of there in Indore, but is there any other places you're scouting where you think your expansion can happen?
So I think we are quite committed to Western India for the foreseeable future. We think there are a lot of opportunities in Western India. It continues to be a high opportunity and low supply market as far as organized healthcare is concerned. And of course, I think we are amongst the stronger brands in the region also. So for all things considered, we think that we would like to remain focused to Western India for our next cycle of growth as well.
Fair enough. That's the important takeaway coming in. West India would be the focus. But also, sir, if you could explain us any kind of a capex planning, because I think there's a lot of greenfield operations are at play. So any capex which has been earmarked for the next year, or will it be just in operational? And the funding, will it be internal accrual, or is there a little bit of debt or some external fundraise also at play?
So currently we hold about 500 odd crores in cash. And if you look at the last year's EBITDA, which was around 350 odd crores, extrapolated the way you feel like for the next 4 or 5 years, then you will see that the cash we hold and the internal accruals that we'll generate over 4 to 5 years should be largely sufficient to take us over the line as far as the current cycle of capex is concerned. So I think we should be fairly well placed for this round. Having said that, on the balance sheet or leverage level, we have discussed this in the board, and we believe that we would like to cap leverage at about 3 times of EBITDA, and within that level of debt, we are happy to explore further growth opportunities.
Exactly. Dr. Thakur, speaking of exploration, the land bank is very much important, because it seems like you are looking at some acquisitions also. We mentioned about the BKC land which was there. It's of course a very prime area for the uninitiated, but wanted to understand any other land banks which you are looking for, especially in the MMR region maybe?
Yeah, so MMR we believe definitely has much more opportunity, and it continues to be one of the more underserved parts of the country for the stature of city of Mumbai. I think it leaves a lot to be desired in terms of the health situation. So I think MMR is a strong opportunity market besides some other large cities in Western India. But we constantly keep evaluating opportunities and land acquisition as and when they arise. And when we find something good, we'll exercise that, and we'll be happy to talk to you then.
So there is, of course, evaluation keeps going on. It's a regular course of the business. But Dr. Thakur, any new segments also which you're looking like around? If you make an hospital, is there a pharmacy or something if you're looking like, or putting your own brand out? Are you thinking in those lines also?
So from time to time, some pathology and pharmacy people keep asking. Those are the two ancillary segments. We may look at something as an ancillary to support the primary business as per opportunities that may arise. But one thing I want to confirm to you and everybody is that as far as the mainstay of the business is concerned, we are not looking at diversification. We are wanting to continue being a hospital or a healthcare provider as a primary function. And for cost optimization, margin improvement, ancillary enhancement of services, etc., we may keep doing something on the side from time to time for pharmacy, pathology, etc., but nothing significant.
To core business, you already have the plan, you have the money, and that's a very disciplined way of addressing our viewers in KYC. But I wanted to understand something more apart from the company. How is the Indian healthcare industry looking like? What are the growth triggers and the challenges? If you could just explain us that in detail.
I think this is a very, very interesting and exciting time to be in the healthcare space. The healthcare industry, I think, is now attaining a critical inflection point wherein most of the country has been exposed now to what does organized, high-end, high-quality, healthcare look like. Going forward from here, I think it is in my view, a multi-decade journey before we can respectably cover India as far as quality healthcare is concerned. Even today, like we said, in Mumbai, there are a lot of areas where supply is a concern. There are a lot of areas which are served by unorganized or secondary care, providers rather than high-end health providers. So, of course, if this is the situation in Mumbai, once you move out into smaller tier 2 and 3 cities, the situation is much worse in the sense of supply. So I think on the greenfield route, of course, acquisitions, M&A and balance sheet level consolidation will keep happening. But in terms of real capacity expansion, there is a lot to be done.
There's a lot to be done. The story has just started. And of course, the medical industry is at an inflection point and a multi-decade opportunity. I have one more industry question, and this is very important right now, is the international medical tourism. Catchment area like South Asia, Africa, we're seeing so much of that inbound numbers coming up. How do you see this, and how as a whole the industry is placed, or India is placed for this?
So for medical tourism, I think it's a little bit of a nuanced analysis. While the glamorous story is comparing cost of healthcare in the developed world versus India and showing the delta, but for practical purposes, people don't travel to save money, but they travel for access, which is why you see most of the medical tourists inbound coming from Middle East and Africa, where they don't have access to quality healthcare in their place of residence. So that will be the predominant growth driver. Currently, they also travel for secondary, maybe tertiary and above services. As Middle East and Africa start developing their own healthcare systems, if India has to continue to be an important destination for medical travel, we will have to attract more of quaternary care and highly specialized kind of services and not just rely on the routine work. So I think that has to be the primary target for India, to supply higher end medical services on the international front.
All right, very nicely put, your views on the industry. Dr. Thakur, it's always a pleasure to have you with us, and welcome back to KYC. Best of luck with the future. And yes, there's an important corporate development of share split also. In a couple of days, the record date will be also coming in. It's always a pleasure to have you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Well, that's the management of Jupiter Lifeline Hospitals. Bullish commentary coming on the industry as well. But yes, when there is expansion, there is a little bit of short-term pressure on the financials. That's what we have seen in the street, but the stock has recovered as well. And for these interesting stories like this and interesting industry snippets as well, keep watching KYC and stay tuned to NDTV Profit.
सुपरस्टार स्टॉक्स ऑफ द डे प्रेजेंटेड बाय टाटा अजूरा, हर रास्ते का सुपरस्टार।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
We are over, Jimmy.
हे, लाइफ में स्क्रैचेस तो आएंगे। गाड़ी के स्क्रैचेस को तो कॉस्मो पीपीएफ संभाल लेगा, आप अपना देख लो।
अंबा शक्ति प्लांट की वर्ल्ड रेनाउंड टेक्नोलॉजी देती है स्टील को ज्यादा ताकत हर बार। अंबा शक्ति SDTMT।
This is India Inc.'s Roll of Honor, recognizing the leaders shaping India's growth story, where ambition, enterprise and excellence meet. In the presence of the Finance Minister, Nirmala Sitharaman. NDTV Profit Business Leadership Awards, 26 July on the NDTV network.
Access to capital, faster regulatory pathways, and market acceptance to create value. And if we get the pieces right, I think we can move from being the pharmacy of the world to being the most innovative lab of the world.
Hi, I'm Tamanna Inamdar. Watch me on NDTV Profit, where I break down the day's biggest business stories. What happened, why it matters, and what it means for your money.
Hi, I'm Neeraj Shah. Watch me on NDTV Profit for the most incisive market intelligence and meaningful corporate conversations. And I'm Alex Matthew. Markets, mutual funds, insurance, personal finance. I help you cut through the noise and make smarter financial choices. And here's where you can watch us.
Benchmarks trade under pressure today with the Nifty hovering near 24,000 levels. Sensex shed 600 points. Real estate, PSU banks on the back foot. Auto as well as FMCG remain resilient. Indian pharma stocks under broad-based pressure after US President Donald Trump unveiled a phased tariff roadmap for imported generic medicines. While tariffs stay at zero initially, the proposed sharp hikes later weighed on the investor sentiment across the sector. Bajaj Auto gains after a stellar Q1 raises hopes of another good year ahead. The automaker plans to launch several models and upgrades in coming weeks, along with broadening its expansion plan. Bandhan Bank under pressure today despite reporting a 35% jump in the first quarter profit as investors focused on the more cautious probability outlook. Mixed brokerage news on the lender's recovery also weighed on the stock. Oil prices extend gains for a fourth straight session as US President Donald Trump threatened broader strikes on Iran and warned against the Houthi disruptions in the Red Sea, keeping supply concerns firmly in focus. Hello and welcome. You've tuned into Markets at 12. I'm Nisha Poddar, and yes, there is pressure mounting on the markets. Let's first focus on the market momentum at this particular point. And Nifty 50 not seeing any let up in sight at the current moment, just about holding on to the 24,000 levels. But that's not enough. Remember, we had crossed past 24,500 levels when the war worries had really come down. With the resurgence of war and the crude oil prices going above $90 per barrel, that's coming in as a big concern, and that's the single largest really factor impacting the Indian markets, apart from the earnings and the monsoon related momentum as well. Let's take a look at Nifty 50, 0.76% down at the current moment. When we talk about the contribution chart, there are only a handful of few of those heavyweights which are in the green zone, while the rest of the market is seeing selling pressure. In fact, taking the lead are the two private banks, ICICI Bank as well as HDFC Bank. In fact, HDFC Bank has lost and eroded a large part of value in the last few trading sessions after their results were disliked by the market. And on the other hand, it's also a trading play whenever the foreign investors especially are nervous about the Indian economy because of the oil concerns. So therefore, ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank, and also add to that big boy Reliance Industries, all three of these counters are adding a lot of pressure on the benchmark index. Let's take a look at also which sectors are really performing, and only a little bit of green shade when we talk about the consumption, FMCG and the auto space, where the results have been good so far. But apart from that, remember the PSU banks, banking space, pharma because of the new tariff concerns from the US, real estate, all of these sectors are a drag, and not to forget Nifty IT, which is also on the downward side today. When we take a look at the broader markets, well, it's the mid-cap universe which is underperforming the key indices by a large margin because it's closer to 1% drop when we talk about the mid-cap 100 space. The only particular area to really look at is really the auto space as well as some bit of the FMCG as as well as the MNC side. So that's the snapshot of the market, and of course the big drudging that the pharma is seeing because of the tariff concerns from the US is one of the most important stories. Let's now focus on some of the counters and stocks which are in the news today. A solid quarter for Nestle, driven by the strong growth across major business segments. Let's take it straight across to Maima, who's standing by to take a closer look and give us the analysis on Nestle. Tell us, Maima.
Yes, Nisha, so most certainly a very strong quarter coming in, yet another strong quarter, if I can put it that way, because, overall, it's been, a beat in terms of all metrics, revenue, EBITDA, margins, and the net profit as well. A strong beat on margins. This was not expected because of the inflationary pressure that we've seen, but despite of that, much better than what the street was expecting. In terms of sales growth, it was largely led by strong volume growth also coming in, and all 4 product categories have seen a double-digit growth. Commodity, of course, the outlook slightly still is cautious, but largely, is mixed as well. In terms of where the numbers go, revenue saw an uptick of around 25%, EBITDA an uptick of almost 40%, margins at 24.1% versus that of 21.6%, and net profit saw a growth of 48%. And there was also an uptick in terms of other income, which stood at around 22.5 crore versus that of 4 crore. Advertisement spends saw a rise of around 40%, which is something that Manish Tiwari also said in his interview last time, that advertisement spends is something that will go up and that will drive the top line as well. In terms of segmental performance, I think confectionery product saw strong volume-led growth, which was largely driven by premiumization. Powdered and liquid beverages was where 20th quarter of double-digit growth has been garnered. Prepared dishes and cooking aids, strong double-digit growth driven by sharper engagement and urban consumer. This was an interesting comment. Milk products and nutrition witnessed double-digit volume growth, and pet food is where they again saw double-digit growth, which was largely supported by portfolio expansion as well as wider distribution. So this is the overall view of how things have fared for Nestle in Q1 FY27, and most certainly a strong quarter for them.
Right. Thank you so much, Maima, for taking us through the strong set of numbers by the consumption company Nestle. Let's also talk about the pharma space. The Trump administration has proposed a phased tariff plan on the generic drug imports, keeping the tariffs at 0 for 2 years before potentially raising them to 100% and later to 100%. Varsha is here with all the details on this particular tariff pressure that is going to hit the Indian companies in 2 years. Varsha, what's the impact? And of course, the investor sentiment has already taken a hit.
Well, companies, pharma is expected to report 7 to 15% of growth in Q1 FY27. There will be a good India growth perspective, but US may have an impact. Now, India business is expected to remain strong. Weakness in the US market is likely to drag profits. Revenue growth is expected to stay healthy, but margins and PAT may decline due to Revlimid expiry and higher input costs. Talking about the India business, domestic pharma continues to grow in double digits, while US is expected to decline 9.3% year on year due to high base of Revlimid last year, lack of major new launches, and continued price erosion expected in the US sales. Margins are expected to be under pressure. If you see, higher raw material costs and freight costs is a concern, and absence of high margin Revlimid sales is likely to compress margin sector. Now, talking about the CDMO story over here, performance is like.
All right. Thank you so much, Varsha, for that. Now, Granules India is the focus that we are really shifting to. Let's get Priyanka Chigurupati, who is joining in. She's the Executive Director of Granules India, joining in. Priyanka, always a pleasure to get chatting with you. Of course, strong set of numbers. What have been the drivers? But first, also to the news, can you share with us the US tariff concerns, which is going to hit the companies in 2 years? But you, as an impacted party in the long run, how do you see this?
Good afternoon. I just want to jump straight to the point that you mentioned. There is a proposal, policy proposal of increasing tariffs by 100% to 200%, but I think it's very important to recognize that generic medicines account for nearly 90% of the prescriptions dispensed in the US, while representing about 13% of the prescription drug spending. Now, that said, and 45% of those drugs go from India. From the granules' perspective, all this is being done from an onshoring perspective. So I just want to clarify that Granules has 3 facilities in the US already. One manufacturing facility that is well capable of accommodating any tech transfer. Some of them have already been done for business continuity reasons, and we have the capacity to take on more if needed with a little bit of expansion. So we're not too concerned about this.
So Priyanka, just breaking it up for the understanding of also the investors who have been sharply reacting negatively to this particular development. While it's 2 years away, you can change a lot of things on product mix also, and you can also bolster your US presence, as I understand from this. Now, you have a huge presence in this particular space, which will have probably 100% tariff in 2 years coming. 72% of your business really is dependent on that. You said you already have a presence in the US. How much of a self-sustaining capability can you really produce in 2 years in the US soil so that this tariff doesn't impact you?
So let's take a step back and let's look at the kind of cost impact, kind of price impact that the US consumers will have to face, right? If you're talking about roughly anywhere, depending on the product, 20 to 70% increase in costs, you're talking about a significant increase in basic medication to the US consumers. Is that going to happen? I really have my doubts about it. And another aspect about Granules in specific is that we're not present in branded formulations. We present in generic formulations, and about 40% of our overall revenue today is already produced in the US. And about 20% is produced for the rest of the world markets. So roughly about 30% is produced in India. And there I see a very high chance of 200% and 100% tariffs not happening, because it's purely going to be unaffordable for the US customers. And these are basic prescriptions. These are basic medications that are needed on an everyday basis.
So Priyanka, as much as I would support your optimism on that, but the US policies and the trade negotiations that we need to see, and these are more diplomatic channels between the two countries. Affordability is something that the US will take care of. But when we talk about the tariff incidents and the impact on the company, you said that about 40% is already there in the US. How are you going to deal with this 2-year cycle to really bolster your presence there, and what are the steps immediately that you can really think of in terms of, first, the impact, and second, the corrective steps or the solutions for that, since you have 2 years?
So for Granules, we are moving heavily from the large volume integrated products to more complex generics. And I'm sure you've seen that in the recent past with our couple of first to file products, etc. And we have a lot of those products also being manufactured in the US. So the margin profile of those in itself will increase. Well, those are much higher than that of basic integrated products. And the percentage of contribution of those complex generics was also going to increase for Granules. So will there be an impact? Possibly, if the policy is implemented. But from our perspective, we are mitigating the risk by, like I said, we already tech transferred a few products. We're also in the process of tech transferring some other products, and we're evaluating it now. And strategically, if the need arises, we're going to expand capacity in our existing manufacturing facilities in the US and deal with the situation as is.
A presence there and also expanding on that to mitigate the impact of tariffs if it were to happen after 2 years, Priyanka. Will that also give you an edge because the prices overall will increase because of the tariff incidents?
You know, I just want to point out one thing because we've been present in the B2C segment in the US market for about 10 years now. And you've seen a very cyclical situation where when situations like this happen, like for example, when COVID happened, what happened? Some customers did not take on price increases. So the competition or the number of people supplying those products went down drastically, right? So then that gives other companies that are willing to supply the product an opportunity to take on that market and supply to the needs of the US consumers. And at that point, unless there is a price increase, there's no supply coming from India to those countries, and India is a major contributing factor, right? So this has a lot of ifs and buts at this moment that we still have to work out on. But I see Granules to be in a very good position compared to, say, other players in the branded segments and other kinds of generics.
Right. So, Priyanka, you have stated how you're going to mitigate this impact, and you had already also announced the move towards the complex formulations and complex products in terms of the product mix. In 2 years' time, how much of your incidence will be, as you see from the vantage point currently, could be on the generic area, which is going to be impacted by tariff? Just one question more on this particular aspect.
Not much. It won't be too much. And one other aspect is the kind of customers we work with. The kind of customers we work with are the ones that heavily focus on supply security. So if need comes, they will absorb most of the price increases.
And also shifting focus now, Priyanka, since we have you with us in terms of the numbers, strong set of numbers in this particular quarter, EBITDA margin from 20.4% to 22.9% on a YOY basis. Give us a picture in terms of the profit as well as profitability and the key drivers as you see it for this particular quarter which we are in.
Yes, we had a really good quarter, and we see the trajectory to be ongoing. The primary reason was the increase in complex generics, the percentage from 39% last year to 50% this quarter. So that's the primary driver of the performance this quarter.
And what about the FDA clearance? Of course, remediation work largely is complete. What are we looking at as the roadmap from here on?
So we are expecting the FDA anytime now. So that's for us good news, because I think we made we did a lot of remediation activities. And I don't like to say that we're done with remediation activities. The specific activities are done. We've sent in all our responses to the FDA, and there's been absolutely no notification of any insufficiencies, which is why we were confident enough to write to the FDA and request a visit. But remediation or improvement of quality activities through digitalization across all the sites is an ongoing activity for us. So after the FDA comes, we're hoping everything goes positively. And once that happens, we have about 9 launches that we're gearing up for as soon as we receive the EIR from the FDA.
So to wrap this conversation, Priyanka, of course, your product mix and more, shift and pivot towards the complex product is already showing results when it comes to this particular number. Can you give us a sense for this particular financial year? Where will we be, and some guidance in terms of that? And to sum it up, also, the investor community is a little, worried about the tariff concern. In a short way, how will you allay the concerns of your various stakeholders in the market?
So I'll answer your first question. We will see some peaks and troughs because of the input costs, etc. But on an annualized basis, which is, I think, the right way to look at this, things will definitely start stabilizing, and we will see a good year ahead in FY27. And one statement that I would like to make from a Granules perspective is that, again, I want to reinforce that these are generic products that are extremely significant to the US market. A combination of the kind of products and the kind of customers that deal with, I know that supply security is of the utmost importance. And I think that's how the economics will work out for us. And that's what I'd like to communicate to the investors as well.
Right, so the industry view clearly that this kind of a tariff, because of the requirement of these important generics, is unlikely, or at least that is wishful thinking, at least at this point. But of course, mediation efforts by companies in 2 years is also a period of time to be utilized.
Interrupt you, but if you look at what happened in the last couple of months, last couple of quarters as well, there's been a lot of renegotiations of policies with different countries, right?
Yes.
So I think even from the US perspective, they're not looking at a situation where there should be shortages. They're looking at policies that are favorable to their country. So I think there will be a mid path that the government finds. And I think for products that are made from India, especially the unbranded generics, there will be a lot of a leeway, and I think they will be protected.
So is the industry body also pushing for the lobbying from the government channels while the US trade deal is still in the works?
I'm sure it will happen. It just happened over the last 24 hours, right? So this will definitely happen.
All right, Priyanka, always a pleasure chatting with you. Thank you for all the clarifications as well as being so candid with all your narrative coming in from the company on this big news development. Thank you so much. All right. Let's shift focus to the market, heavily impacted by the pharma sector. Also, Aman Chauhan, who's the fund manager at Abacus Asset Manage, joins us now. Aman, pleasure speaking to you on NDTV Profit. What do you make of the kind of market pressure as crude oil rises? How do you see this particular aspect really playing out? And how much of the bad news is already baked in these numbers?
This is, I think, a repeat of what happened in March when crude spiked up and the market did become volatile. We had seen a decent recovery in the markets. If crude stays at these levels, then I see downside risk to the market from these levels, because I don't think market is prepared for this high level of crude prices, right? So that, I think it's not yet baked into the prices. Everybody is still hopeful that the Middle East crisis is not going to continue for long. We have already seen one round of spike in prices, then prices coming off, coming back to 70s. That is what is built into the numbers, not 80s, not 90s, right? So if it stays in 80s or 90s for higher, then there can be further volatility in the market. There can be, I think, some downward pressure because of the higher crude price.
Really look at the numbers when, the crude oil prices were hitting above $100 per barrel. We were at 23,000 levels at Nifty 50. Then as crude really recovered, we recovered by about 1,000 odd points from the low point that we had seen in the war situation. Do you see retesting with these kind of elevated crude prices, if it sustains? How much lower can it go, and can it also surpass the lows that we had seen in this particular cycle of the war situation and crude impact?
If it stays longer, then yeah, we can test the recent lows. I don't think we'll breach the recent lows, because over the last 3-4 months, India has also worked a lot upon getting alternate supplies. The system is also geared up now much better than what it was, because in March it was a surprise. Now it's no longer a surprise. So everybody has built in their own mechanisms to deal with this crisis. So from that perspective, I don't feel that we'll breach the lows. But if it stays longer, then there's a fair chance that we can retest the lows. Also, global markets are also volatile, right? So in April, May, Nasdaq was doing well. The AI trade globally was doing well. That is not this case right now. We have seen too much of volatility in the Korean markets. Some day market hits upper circuit, some day it's a lower circuit, right? So investors are jittery on that front also. From that perspective, the global scenario is also not something which is very conducive, and hence, if crude stays longer, definitely there could be some pressure on Indian markets also.
Biggest hit, Aman, today is on pharma because of a tariff incidence which could really hit them after 2 years, and that's a sentimental knee-jerk reaction that we're seeing today. And then banks as the trading bet for the economy is the one which is under pressure a lot. Would you buy into these, or that you are expecting a further downside? Would you wait and watch? What would be the strategy at this particular point?
For the pharma, it's going to be wait and watch, but the view is very clear that we are positive on the pharma space, and any correction, we'll take it as an opportunity to further add on to what we already have. As your earlier presenter was mentioning, Priyanka, that generics is something that the US cannot risk with. There is no economic sense for US to make generic medicines in US because the cost there is still high, even post tariff. But after COVID, we have seen, including India, that everybody wants to be self-reliant. People want to reduce the import dependence. If that is the logic, then yes, some kind of manufacturing can shift to the US from the global markets. But that is still a 3-4 year process. It's not going to happen overnight. And hence, any near-term sharp reaction in pharma, we would lose as an opportunity to add. Financials preference is private banks versus PSU banks and selective large NBFCs. So we continue to stay invested in that space. I don't think we are going to change that stance for now. Unless crude stays higher for longer, which means currency stays north of 95, 96 levels, which means inflation can be higher, and then the whole rate cycle gets questioned, right? But that's something that will end up reacting maybe after a week, 10, 15 days, or maybe a month's time if crude stays longer. For now, staying put with the financials also.
Right, Aman Chauhan, always a pleasure taking your expert advice on the market momentum. Thank you so much for joining us on NDTV Profit. And before we say goodbye on markets at 12, there's an important notice here from the programming, recognizing the women leaders who have really shaped major sectors of the economy through scale, innovation and sustained commercial success. And the nominees are Gitanjali Kirloskar, the CMD of Kirloskar Systems, a pioneering industrial leader advancing the legacy and future of one of India's greatest engineering institutions. We have Roshni Nadar Malhotra, who is the chairperson of HCL Tech, represents a new generation of Indian business leadership that combines technological scale, strategic national relevance and institutional building with long-term vision. Falguni Nair, CEO, Nykaa, a founder who built a multi-billion-dollar consumer brand from the ground up. Mallika Srinivasan, CMD of TAF, and a manufacturing leader powering India's agricultural and industrial growth. Vibha Padalkar, MD and CEO of HDFC Life, a financial services leader, expanding insurance access and strengthening financial security for millions of Indians. Prabha Narasimhan, the MD and CEO of Colgate Palmolive, a trailblazing leader redefining growth and innovation in India's fast-moving consumer goods industry. So these are the women on the nomination for Women Leadership for the Business Leadership Award. Don't miss it on 26 July. It's time to wrap on markets at 12, but keep it with NDTV Profit. Thank you so much.
Superstar Stocks of the Day, presented by Tata Azura. Har Raaste Ka Superstar.
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
याद है ना मैंने क्या सिखाया था? सिल्वर के लिए स्टर्लिंग मार्क, गोल्ड के लिए हॉलमार्क और मस्टर्ड ऑयल के लिए सिर्फ पी मार्क।
इस बार तो माँ से भी बेहतर बना।
P-Mark, the mustard specialist since 1933. बरसों से सरसों। कुछ तो बात है इस दिल में।
We are over, Jimmy.
Hey, लाइफ में स्क्रैचेस तो आएंगे। गाड़ी के स्क्रैचेस को तो कॉस्मो पीपीएफ संभाल लेगा। आप अपना देख लो।
अंबा शक्ति प्लांट की वर्ल्ड रेनाउंड टेक्नोलॉजी देती है स्टील को ज्यादा ताकत हर बार। अंबा शक्ति SDTMT।
पर जब इंसान प्रकृति के साथ सामंजस्य को आत्मसात कर लेता है तो वो मधुर और लालन पोषण करने वाली बन जाती है। पी मार्क सरसों के तेल ने प्राकृतिक तरीके से सरसों के तेल को बनाया है शुद्धता और गुणवत्ता के साथ।
The mustard specialist since 1933. बरसों से सरसों।
कुछ तो बात है इस दिल में।
India Inc.'s most respected names chose India Inc.'s best and brightest.
These kind of awards and jury lineup, you are truly giving it the right weightage.
I think it's heartening to see talent that there is in across India Inc.
We should be awarding companies and individuals who have focused not only on growth but also on bringing good governance.
Be part of jury and vote on the people, the men, the women, the companies in India who have the right stuff is a great opportunity for us.
For us, the biggest thing is trust. That's what we provide. We need leaders in India that can help take India being a global superpower.
We got a fantastic jury and we've left all decisions to the wisdom of the jury.
Who will earn India's top business honors? Find out at the NDTV Profit Business Leadership Awards. India Inc.'s most respected names chose India Inc.'s best and brightest.
These kind of awards and jury lineup, you are truly giving it the right weightage.
I think it's heartening to see talent that there is in across India Inc.
We should be awarding companies and individuals who have focused not only on growth but also on bringing good governance.
Be part of jury and vote on the people, the men, the women, the companies in India who have the right stuff is a great opportunity for us.
For us, the biggest thing is trust. That's what we provide. We need leaders in India that can help take India being a global superpower.
We got a fantastic jury and we've left all decisions to the wisdom of the jury.
Who will earn India's top business honors? Find out at the NDTV Profit Business Leadership Awards.
Hello and welcome to NDTV Profit. You're watching Trending Stocks from NDTV Profit Suzlon Studio. And I'm Hiral Dadia. With me is Sharad Dubey, who's at the market bit right now. Sharad, an interesting day of trade today because right now the markets are at the day's lowest levels as we speak. The other thing that I'm picking up right now is Brent crude. It's seen a spike of close to a little over 2%. You're trading at around $93 per barrel, and that is something which is concerning. Markets not really taking that well as well.
Exactly, you're right. Good afternoon, Hiral. And looking at the market, we just fell below the 24,000 mark right now at the day's low level. And Nifty Bank setup is much weaker than Nifty. Of course, the pressure is coming from HDFC Bank. We'll come to that later. But let's pull out the Nifty Bank chart also to show you how things are moving. And this is down almost 1.4% at the day's low. Almost cuts of 800 points. So that's a little bit of concern coming in as the geopolitical tensions are rising between US and Iran. But let's look at the key factors for the day. And of course, the concerns are coming in. Important support level 23,800 to 24,000. We are in that important range right now. So it'll be important to see if any bounce happens from this or not. Nifty, HDFC Bank, second straight day, the drag is coming in. We are seeing the sell-off and it has intensified. Look at that, it's down 1.5%. Yesterday it was down 2%. So the drag is coming in. Also, let's look at the Smiths. They are seeing deeper cuts versus the benchmark indices. So no major relief in the broader indices, also both of them falling. But remember, a slight FMCG recovery is happening, led by Nestle India's results which came in. It was a good set of numbers. And also, if you look at the sector specific, the brokerages are bullish on both of them. Yesterday the numbers came. Both stocks, Bajaj Auto and TVS Motor, are doing well in the trade. Also, the interest rate sensitives, PSU banks and realty, that's where the sell-off is intensifying as well. Little bit of concerns. And pharma has fallen after the generic pharma tariff imposition announcement has come in. So a little bit of concern is coming in the street. Rupee weakens back to that 96.5 levels. So a little bit of concern is definitely there. But going ahead, the Brent crude, as Hiral had pointed out, that's where the pressure is coming and the crude sensitives are taking the brunt. Also, the Q1 earnings today, three larger names we'll be focusing on. The nifty ones, IndusInd Bank is in the positive, while Eternal and Dr. Reddy's, they are seeing some kind of a sell-off. So we'll be tracking a lot of earnings, but yes, the overall sentiment, be it large caps, mid caps, or even small caps, is not that good. It's in the red.
Okay, so interesting moves in terms of where markets are concerned as we speak. But let's quickly look at the watch list. And before we do that, you have Jubilant, which has just posted numbers right now. The net profit is up nearly 40% as we speak. And the number is coming at around 105 odd crores. Let's just pull up the intraday chart of Jubilant in Greva, because that stock is seeing a spike in today's session, 1.5% uptick on the 40% growth that they've seen in terms of profitability growth. Apart from the profit number, let's quickly look at what the other numbers are looking like, because the spike is coming in from what I'm seeing right now is in terms of the profit number, 41%, 105 odd crores versus a 75 odd crores on a year-on-year basis. Apart from this, let me see if there is any other number that I can see on the exchanges right now, because nothing apart from the profit number that has come in so far, but a spike coming in terms of Jubilant in Greva. So that's the first cut only on the first number as we speak, and a cool off coming in there as well. Revenues have seen a growth as well right now. What I'm seeing is around 25 odd percent. That number is almost 1,300 odd crores in terms of the top line. So good growth in terms of top line. Your profit growth has actually outpaced your top line growth as well, and which is one of the key positives that you're tracking right now, and that's the reason why you're seeing that spike coming in with regards to where Jubilant in Greva goes. There you go, 25%, 1,300 odd crores is the revenue number that you're watching out for so far. We will come back to the counter in terms of the EBITDA and the margins once those numbers are out, but at least in terms of the top line and bottom line, it seems to be a good growth and the spike coming in as well. But let's look at the watch list. Bandhan Bank, you know, that is a stock which is in the spotlight, and that's because the management has lowered their FY27 ROA guidance. That stock is seeing cuts of 17% as we speak. The entire pharma pack is in focus, and there is a mild bit of pressure because of the Trump tariffs that could be coming in generic drugs as well. MedPlus, the profits are down 21%, and that's the reason why the stock is trading under pressure. Canada Robeco is up 8 to 9%. The profits have gone up by 82%, and that justifies the kind of surge in terms of the stock price as well. TVS Holdings, the total income is up 34% for the company. The stock also reacting to the numbers. Sand DLM, the net profit has more than doubled in terms of Sand DLM. If you pull up the counter as well, 13% up move coming in terms of where Sand DLM goes. MPS again reacting to numbers. 19 to 20% is the kind of surge coming in terms of MPS. Hatsun Agro, EBITDA margins have dipped, and that's the concerning area there. Stock reacting to that. Likewise for Mastech also, the margins have dipped by 60 basis points on a sequential basis. Very interesting to see a Gabriel which is down nearly 7%. Now, you know, the numbers are pretty mixed, but they've said they're going to buy this stake in HL Mando and HL Klemov. We will try getting more details from Puneet as well to tell us as to what the street has not really liked and why the stock has been trading under pressure, and is this profit booking also which is coming in, because the stock has run up quite a bit. India Mart Intermesh, Jeffries has cut the target price on the back of earnings to 1,650. That stock is down in trade, and Vedanta Oil which is down 5%, and this is because the DGH has given a 300 crore demand letter to Vedanta Oil and Gas. M&M Financial, second consecutive session where the uptick continues on the back of earnings, and you have Jeffries which has hiked the target price mildly to a 365. Bajaj Auto, again earnings and the target price increase that has come in on that counter. The stock is reacting positively, the top gainer on Nifty 50 as well. Crude has hit a 6-week high, and that's what is putting pressure with regards to Indigo, and Indigo will be reporting numbers as well. Nestle, a strong quarter. EBITDA margins have risen to 24.1%, so double-digit volume growth has hit a 6-week high, and that's what is putting pressure with regards to Indigo, and Indigo will be reporting numbers as well. Nestle, a strong quarter. EBITDA margins have risen to 24.1%, so double-digit volume growth also is something which the street is taking. Interesting names that we're talking about, Sharad, in terms of the watch list, but over to you to take the rapid fire with Devin Mehta of ITBI Capital.
Thanks a lot, Hiral, for that. Good afternoon, Devin. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. We'll start our rapid fire round. The first stock is MedPlus Health Services. Of course, there's a reaction happening in this. Is there a trade to be made in this counter?
Good afternoon. I think no, one should avoid this particular counter. This can further correct towards 635 levels. We have seen a major breakdown after results. So one should avoid this counter for any short to medium term trade.
Right, and another counter signed DLM. Of course, there was a consolidation play. Now it seems like there is a good breakout coming in for this counter. Do you think there'll be more follow-up buying in this? And if yes, what level should be watching out for?
No, I think the stock has already moved up. Those who are holding can hold with a stop loss of 645. This can further move towards 740 odd levels.
All right. Next stock is India Mart Intermesh. Of course, the numbers came in. Numbers were pretty strong. Management commentary also looked well. But what's there on the charts here? The stock is down here. A little bit of profit booking coming in. Do you think it's a good time to nibble and add some positions in this, or you'll stay away from this trade?
No, I think one should stay away from this particular counter. We have seen continuous.
Stock is down here. A little bit of profit booking coming in. Do you think it's a good time to nibble and add some positions in this, or you'll stay away from this trade?
No, I think one should stay away from this particular counter. We have seen continuous lower top, lower bottom formation in this particular counter. This can further correct towards 1650 odd levels. So we can see some more further correction. One should avoid this particular counter.
And Deven, what about M&M Finance? The brokerage is turned bullish, and this stock we had taken as a brokerage call at 905 was up 7%. Do you think it's a good time to add some more positions or a little bit of profit booking?
No, I think this stock has given a strong breakout above 345 levels. The volumes have surged, so we can say a good up move. Those who want to enter fresh long position should wait for dips. 345 is the good level for fresh entry. 315 can be stop loss, and this can move towards 410 level.
Right. Next stock is Nestle. They come out with a good set of quarterly numbers also, and all the FMCG stocks are also going up. So good momentum is coming in. Good momentum can be made going ahead also for Nestle. What are the levels to watch out for? Is there a good risk-reward ratio here? This stock is up 1.5% right now.
Definitely, the stock has moved well, but on the higher side, we can witness a resistance around 1500 levels. So if it closes above 1500, that can be a good breakout, and we can see stock moving towards 1620 levels in the coming days. Those who are holding can hold with a stop loss of 1415 levels, which is 50-day exponential moving average.
Right. So important development has happened on the generic pharma. The tariff imposition announcement has come in, but it comes with a caveat. 2 years there is 0%. After that there will be an increase 100%, and then after that 1 more year 200%. All the pharma stocks are kind of having a sell-off. You have Zydus, Lupin, and even DRL, which comes with its earnings today. Good time to actually buy a little bit and do an averaging here.
Yeah, definitely. In fact, all the pharma counters are looking well, and all the dips are good buying opportunity for pharma. But the counter Divi's Lab is performing well. I think one should try to enter this particular counter on any dips if possible.
Right. So buy on dip for Divi's Labs. That's coming in from Devin. But that's the end of the rapid fire round. Over to you, Hiral. What are the Google trending stocks?
I'm sure you will be able to make a guess on this one, Sharad, because you still have a SBI which is trending on Google today as well, and that is after SBI funds actually listed on the bourses. Stock down nearly 2.3% in trade, so there is some bit of pressure. There's a rotation that's happening between the PSU and the private banking space as well, and I think that's what is evident on SBI. But moving on, Bajaj Auto is also surging in trade after getting thumbs up from brokerages on the back of a solid show in terms of the first quarter. Earlier today, we did speak to the management who told us that the company is well positioned in the electric vehicle business and expects profitability for the EV business in double digits. Let's listen into what Rakesh Sharma had to say. The stock is up nearly 5%.
We've got a good position in electric scooters. Remember that we got out of scooters in 2007, and then on the back of electric, we've come back into the scooter business and rapidly come to at least a number 2 position, sometimes number 1, but very, very close in the leadership stakes out there with double-digit profitability in the electric business. Then if you look at the electric auto business or the 3-wheeler business, people don't, that's almost like 20% of our whole business. It's almost now rivaling the motorcycle business. and solid market position, tremendous growth in e-autos. They doubled, And finally, if you look at the 150cc plus segment, I said it's a 25% growth. We have now seen market share expansion, albeit at a small pace in Q4 and in Q1 in this segment. So, and it's also going to see a lot of action in terms of new product introductions, etc., from our side. So, our segments, the one which we are really, really strongly focused on, seem to be having a really good tailwind for us to capitalize on.
Okay, so that's the word coming in for Bajaj Auto as well from the management. Gaurang Shah, Senior Vice President at Geojit Investments, joins in. Gaurang, welcome to the show. Always a pleasure to speak to you. You know, my question coming to you is for the two-wheeler space. Yesterday, when we saw both the numbers, TVS and Bajaj Auto, good spike in terms of TVS Motors. Bajaj Auto was somewhere subdued, and the concern was surrounding the domestic growth. And exports are the ones which have fired this time around as well. Management has come and clarified that new launches is something that will lead the growth. They're expecting profitability as well in terms of the EV business. What is your view in terms of Bajaj Auto? And if you have to look at the two-wheeler space, what would your top pick be?
Hi, Hiral. Thank you so much for having me on your show. Good afternoon to all your viewers and to you and your entire team. A small disclosure, all recommendations that I'll be sharing with you this afternoon on your show, Hiral, they're part of our fundamental research team recommendation from a long-term point of our company, Geojit, or myself. We do not have any kind of personal investments, no financial interest, no conflict of interest, but we share similar investment ideas with our clients. They might have their investment interest. So I also had an opportunity to listen into Mr. Sharma post the numbers, and I was quite impressed by the verbatim and the strategy, how they want to take it forward, specifically with the EV portfolio, how they are planning to ramp up and expand their product offering in this particular segment. They're also going to have a different business strategy as far as their motorcycle offering in terms of Triumph and KTM is concerned. Traction in terms of positivity, Hiral, as far as the entire auto universe is concerned. Positivities trickle in first on two-wheelers and three-wheelers, not only from the domestic demand, but also from the export market point of view, the way the numbers have been delivered. And that's the primary reason why Bajaj Auto has delivered the kind of numbers that they delivered yesterday. Stellar set of numbers, great numbers on all account. I think they're firing up on all cylinders. And my sense is that with the focus on EV, because if you recollect, Hiral, when Chetak was launched in an EV form, the initial period was a little bit difficult and a tight time because the numbers did not look very impressive. But now with 30% share, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the product is doing very well and they're going to increase the product. So in terms of investment ideas in the two-wheeler, three-wheeler pack, Bajaj Auto, Hero MotoCorp, TVS Motors and Eicher Motor. Now, if I had to pick one possibly investment from this two-wheeler auto sector, then as of now, definitely it will be Bajaj Auto. If you have deep pockets, Hiral, first of all. And if not, then you can look at either Eicher Motors, TVS Motors or Hero MotoCorp.
Eicher Motors, TVS Motors are actually doing well in trade. Also, these stocks are up on brokerages, turning bullish. But one counter on the earnings is Mastec. Mixed set of numbers coming in, but the stock is taking a big sell-off. Why is this happening? For that, we have Jasmeet with us. Jasmeet, what's happening in the stock? Is there any internals to look at for Mastec?
Well, sure, thank you for that. We are seeing a flattish quarter for the company. If you look at the revenue, it's up nearly 5%, but rest EBIT is flat. The margins is a slight downtick, and that's why even the stock is down in today's trade. If you look at the key interesting thing that I'm picking up from this particular counter is the overall AI momentum. The company says they have signed nearly 40 plus deals in the Q1, and almost 45% of the current order book is led by the AI one deal. So that's quite interesting for this particular counter, though the company doesn't report its AI revenue separately. Apart from that, if you look at the overall PE ratio of this particular counter, it's at almost 13 times, in line with the large caps, given Mastec is quite small compared to the large cap companies. Now, in terms of the CC growth, that has come at nearly 1.5% on QOQ basis, and that explains why the overall PE is down for this particular counter. While company also reports that the Middle East issue is something that the company is working alongside with, and that has impacted the overall UAE part of the business. Apart from that, the rest segments of the company are doing well, but margin took a slight hit because of the UAE issues. The rest of the business model looks strong.
All right, the business model looks strong. Thanks a lot, Jasmeet, for that. But stock is under a little bit of pressure. Stock down almost 3% odd. Just to put in perspective, there's the AI trade is going on. There's a product IT company trade going on. There's large cap. There is mid cap. Gaurang sir, wanted to take your view, as a whole in the IT space and the way AI is actually playing out. Is there any good risk to reward ratio because the valuations seem a bit, on the lower side?
Hi Sharad, good afternoon to you as well. So there are multiple investment ideas from Geojit as far as the IT universe is concerned. This with the caveat that you are not going to get the kind of returns that you used to get 5-10 years back or maybe long because of the challenges, complexities, innovation, technologies, products, tools getting launched. So we have investment ideas across small cap, mid cap and large cap. For the better understanding of your viewers, I'll name two from each. Cyient Limited and KPIT Tech from the bottom of the pyramid, that is small cap. At middle level, mid cap, we have investment ideas in form of Coforge and Persistent Systems. In the large cap universe, you are spoiled for your choice, Sharad, starting with TCS, HCL Tech, Infosys, Tech Mahindra, L&T Technologies, and LTM, that is L&T Mindtree, LTM Mindtree. But yeah, 1.5 to 2 year time horizon is needed in case if you eventually understand and agree to invest in IT.
So LTM, that stock is at the day's lowest levels. But you know what interesting counter that we've been spotting is Gujarat Fluorochemicals. Let's pull up that one on the screens. And if we can just have a longer term chart as well, because for nearly 2 years, investors have actually questioned the company's aggressive 2,000 crore bet on battery material. And this is because the losses have mounted with nearly no revenue. However, the tables have now turned and the company's story appears to be entering a phase. What's in store for the company? Because you're talking about a shift in narrative that's happening. You're talking about how the EV business is probably going to start firing as well in terms of FY27. That stock has seen smart returns in the last probably 6 months. It's nearly up 50%. Varsha is with us to tell us more. Varsha, it's a wait and watch story with regards to where Gujarat Fluorochemicals goes, and I think now is the time. After that, they've met a couple of analysts as well. There is something brewing there. There is something which is becoming more structured.
So absolutely, I would say that in the last 2 years, every chemical company has talked about battery chemicals, but now if you see, Gujarat Fluoro is one of them which has actually done work on ground. So for 2 years, I would say almost 2,000 crore of capex has been spent, huge losses in EV business, almost no revenue. But today, if you see, after 2 years, now what has happened? Plans have been built, products have been approved, customers have been signed. Narrative has actually, shifted from will this work to how big can this can be. Now talking about Gujarat Fluoro, what does it do today? If you see, the major earnings come from refrigerants, you have fluoro polymers and specialty fluorochemicals. But the ambition of the company is to build an entire battery ecosystem, I would say, a battery material platform. Company wants to become a key non-China supplier and also participate across EVs and energy storage system. Now, they are actually building a battery ecosystem wherein they'll have electrolytes, they'll have additives, they'll have PFDV blinders, also cathode materials, natural graphite anode. So everything that is required to make a EV battery will be every component will be manufactured by Gujarat Fluorochemical. So basically they are building an entire battery ecosystem. Now talking about the biggest trend, one is the qualification risk has largely behind. LFP is in final qualification stage and anode project is under development. So the hardest part in this scenario has been done by Gujarat Fluoro. Now, talking about why LFP is the most important, because if you see, LFP cathode contributes almost 40% of battery cost, and plant has been commissioned, customer approvals are underway when it comes to Gujarat Fluorochemical. Commercial sales are being targeted in H2 FY27 and the earnings potential rises once LFP scales successfully, and hence Gujarat Fluoro is already ahead when it comes to the battery ecosystem. Lastly, what management is targeting, much larger business than today. 2x asset returns, 25+% of EBITDA margin is what they are targeting. Also 12,000 crores of revenue potential and 3,000 crores of EBITDA potential is what management is expecting. So overall, they are building a battery ecosystem wherein Gujarat Fluoro is much ahead when it comes to their competitors, and hence we are seeing everybody going bullish, and everybody is now asking question, how big can this battery ecosystem be for Gujarat Fluoro?
Absolutely. Thank you, Varsha, for breaking that down for us. In fact, Gaurang, any view when it comes to a Gujarat Fluorochemicals? Because there is something brewing there. Would you be a buyer with what the management has now come out and said?
So while we remain positive on the sector, Hiral, Gujarat Fluoro, I don't think we have a coverage, but as your colleague Varsha was giving out all the fine details, my sense is that as these capabilities and capacities will come on stream, and over a period of time they start contributing to the balance sheet and profitability, the thought process must have gone very, very deep, Hiral, when it comes to investing almost 2,000 crores in these new capabilities and capacities, and with the right strategy in mind and the growth prospect in mind. So it happens to be a strong player. I won't go into specifics, buy, sell and hold, because we currently don't have coverage on Gujarat Fluoro.
That's the view coming in for Gujarat Fluoro, but the stock, or you could say the accident of the day, is none other than Bandhan Bank. Look at that downtick coming in the day's trade, and most importantly, the numbers yesterday, the reaction was not so much, but post market hours in the con call, a very important statement was made by the management. They have stated that the ROA, the return on assets guidance, is down by 40 points right now. They're expecting to range between 1.2 to 1.4% for FY27, and that is where the concerns have started coming in, a big sell-off volume based also. Gaurang sir, just taking your view on Bandhan Bank, is it the sell-off too much, or do you think there is substance still there?
Punishment is going to be severe when it comes to underperforming numbers, Sharad. And this is what I'm worried about such banks like Bandhan Bank. Though as a disclosure, we do have a coverage on Bandhan Bank. But this erratic reporting numbers is something, and guidance, commentaries, etc. It makes investors nervous, Sharad. That's the problem. And when you have alternatives available in form of other public sector bank and private sector banks who have delivered well, so we would need to have a little bit of elevated risk appetite in case if you got invested in Bandhan Bank, purely on the erratic nature of numbers getting reported. I hope the management will get their act together. We do have positive coverage from a long-term point of view.
Okay, positive from a longer term perspective. So probably Gaurang is saying this is an opportunity to buy with that 16 to 17% kind of cut that's coming in. Thank you so much, Gaurang, for joining in. It's always a pleasure to speak to you as well. But before we wrap the show, let me bring you an exciting announcement which you've been hearing. And this is after a pause of 13 years, one of the most prestigious honors in Indian businesses back on the July 26th, NDTV Profit brings back the Business Leadership Awards, celebrating the leaders, companies and entrepreneurs who have helped shape India's economic journey. In fact, our India's Atmanirbharta Champion Award is conferred to an enterprise that has strengthened India's self-reliance by building indigenous manufacturing, deep tech capability, healthcare or industrial independence, reducing import dependence and establishing globally competitive Made in India excellence. And the nominees are ONGC, Tata Electronics, HAL, Dr. Reddy's and Walkard.
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आपका पार्सल फिर से हमारे घर पे आया है।
कुछ तो बात है इस दिल में।
माँ भी हमेशा पी मार्क मस्टर्ड ऑयल में ही खाना बनाती थी। ये आपके लिए।
कुछ तो बात है इस दिल में. P-Mark, the mustard specialist since 1933.
सरसों से सरसों.
We are over, Jimmy.
Hey, लाइफ में स्क्रैचेस तो आएंगे. गाड़ी के स्क्रैचेस को तो कॉस्मो पीपीएफ संभाल लेगा. आप अपना देख लो.
अंबा शक्ति प्लांट की वर्ल्ड रेनाउंड टेक्नोलॉजी देती है स्टील को ज्यादा ताकत हर बार. अंबा शक्ति SDTMT.
याद है ना मैंने क्या सिखाया था? सिल्वर के लिए स्टर्लिंग मार्क, गोल्ड के लिए हॉलमार्क और
मस्टर्ड ऑयल के लिए सिर्फ पी मार्क.
इस बार तो माँ से भी बेहतर बना.
P-Mark, the mustard specialist since 1933. बरसों से सरसों. कुछ तो बात है इस दिल में.
India Inc.'s most respected names chose India Inc.'s best and brightest.
I'm delighted to be chairing of such distinguished fellow businessmen, bankers. It's just lovely to be back on this NDTV jury. I have been a fan of NDTV for a long time.
Many of the nominees are extremely close together in terms of what they've done.
I think it's also important that how they are reshaping the industries, commercial activities which they are into. And it's a very judicious mix of people to choose from. My compliments to the team.
Who will earn India's top business honors? Find out at the NDTV Profit Business Leadership Awards. They built, they led, they redefined the business conversation. Now, India Inc.'s finest takes center stage. Who will win the NDTV Profit Business Leadership Awards? 26 July on the NDTV network.
Hi, I'm Tamanna Inamdar. Watch me on NDTV Profit, where I break down the day's biggest business stories. What happened, why it matters, and what it means for your money.
Hi, I'm Neeraj Shah. Watch me on NDTV Profit for the most incisive market intelligence and meaningful corporate conversations.
Benchmarks trade under pressure with the Nifty hovering near 24,000. Sensex sets more than 600 odd points. Realty, PSU banks on the back foot. Auto and FMCG meanwhile remain resilient. Indian pharma stocks under broad-based pressure after US President Trump unveils a phased tariff roadmap for imported generic medicines. While tariffs stay at zero initially, the proposed sharp hikes later weighed on investor sentiment across the sector. FMCG giant Nestle India surges up to 4% after numbers beat expectations across counts. Strong double-digit growth for all four product groups. And speaking of gains, let's talk about Bajaj Auto. Rose after a stellar Q1, raises hopes of another good year ahead. The automaker also plans to launch several models and upgrades in the next few weeks, along with broadening its expansion plans. Bandhan Bank, meanwhile, under pressure despite reporting a 35% jump in the first quarter profit as investors focused on a more cautious profitability outlook. Mixed brokerage views on the lender's recovery also weigh on the stock. And oil prices extend gains for a fourth straight session as US President Donald Trump threatens broader strikes on Iran and warns against Houthi disruptions. Warnings against Houthi disruptions in the Red Sea also resurface, keeping supply concerns really firmly in focus. Good afternoon, you're watching Lunchtime Trades with me, Shreyansi Singh, and this is the show that gets you a roundup in terms of everything that is happening in the world of commodities, news and updates as well on the top buzzers at this hour all while you grab lunch. But before we do that, let's take a very quick look at the markets. And when you talk about the markets, it's not looking like a very good picture, whether you talk about Nifty or Sensex for that matter. So Nifty about 190 odd points down. When you talk about Sensex as well, 600 odd point cut coming in as far as the Sensex is concerned. And when you quickly also talk about the broader indices, you're seeing some bit of underperformance also, just slightly in small caps, with that 1.2% loss also coming in, 1.1% thereabout loss also coming in for mid cap as well. And when you talk about the entire sectoral picture, very, very strongly skewed to the red as well. Let's also talk about what the sectors are up to right now. So it's Nifty Realty that's on the back foot with that 2.5% cut coming in. 1.9% actually for PSU banks. Nifty IT also on the back foot. Pharma, media, financial services, banks, all of those sectors trading with some cuts down anywhere between 1.5 to about 2.5% When you talk about autos and FMCGs, those are the pockets of resilience really. And FMCG, of course, Nestle has to be one company that you have to talk about as well when you talk about the FMCG pack today, because that has reported its numbers, and a strong set of numbers that you're looking at. All four product categories have in fact done well. And when you talk about the numbers as well for Nestle, beat expectations across all counts. When you talk about the entire Nifty 50 pack as well, in terms of the top gainers and losers, that's also one stock that makes it to the gainers. So there's Bazaar Auto that makes it to that list with a 5.5% uptick also coming in. When you talk about Nestle India, 2.5% is the one that you're looking at. Tata Consumer, ONGC, Titan Company, as well as HUL, some other stocks that are doing quite good for themselves as well. On the flip side, there's an Interglobe Aviation, there's Infosys, Geo Financial Services, some of those counters that are trading with some bit of pressure, and some of your banks, of course, make it to this list as well. So there's Kotak Bank, Axis Bank, and the otherwise resilient in the last few days, ICICI Bank as well, 1.5% cut also coming in. And HDFC Bank, of course, and we'll get you some more updates in terms of how you should be looking at HDFC Bank as well against this backdrop that you've got right now. But before we do that, let's also talk about the entire banking pack in terms of one more stock that is buzzing on the back of, in focus, in fact, on the back of its earnings. And that actually is CSB Bank. That one counter is key definitely to watch out for on the back of its numbers as well. It's reported its Q1 numbers, and we'll get you some more updates. When you take a look at the stock though, you're looking at a downtick really coming in, and a sharp one at that coming in when you talk about the report of the number as well. So when you talk about net profit, you're looking at an uptick of 26% thereabouts as well. And when you talk about some of these other numbers as well, in terms of the gross NPA, that's at 1.75% versus 1.66% on a quarter-on-quarter basis, 0.39% for the net NPAs versus 0.40 on a quarter-on-quarter basis. And when you talk about the NIIs, you've actually seen a sharp uptick coming in. 26% is how much the uptick also was. So that's CSB Bank all over. You do have the numbers that look quite healthy, whether you talk about NII or net profit as well, and operational profit also uptick of about 13.8% as well. It's the NIMs that are at 3.6% versus 3.5% on a year-on-year basis as well. So that's also one figure that you're looking at. The first quarter loan growth has also been at 24% on a year-on-year basis. So that stock definitely one to watch out for. Largely looking like a decent set of numbers, but the stock seems to be tanking ever since the numbers have really been reported as well, and it was also trading in the red before that. But you do have the entire commodities pack that, of course, is in focus. Let's talk about that as well and get you the update going. As far as commodities are concerned, quickly taking a look at oil prices. And that's where all of the action actually is, because you're looking at oil, Brent, in fact, above $93 a barrel. When you talk about key updates also coming in, and when you talk about what else is happening in the markets, lots of factors that you're definitely looking at. So extending gains for the fourth straight session, rallying on some of those widening supply concerns. And that seems to really be the concern here against the backdrop of, number one, US President Trump really threatening some of those broader strikes on Iran. Number two, of course, some of those Hormuz shipping risks also returning very much in focus, and add to that the real troublemaker as well in terms of Houthi threats that keep Red Sea vulnerable as well. So the escalation could very well push crude above $100, and that's something that organizations seem to also be indicating as well. And you do have brokerage commentary as well coming in, where they are also talking about this 3-digit figure. In fact, let's get you some more insights. Vandana Bharti, head of commodity research, SMC Group, as well as Peter Maguire, CEO Trading.com Australia, join us on the show right now. And Peter, first things first, I'm going to take it across to you. It is a very, very interesting setup, and it is a very interesting day to also be tracking the oil markets, because $93 a barrel is definitely a level that, months ago we were talking about factoring this in, thinking about whether or not this is, going to be achieved anytime in the near future. And that was before, war really complicated every math that we had in terms of oil prices, right? Right now you're looking at $93 a barrel, and frankly, it does look like $100 a barrel is also just a stone's throw away as well, given the kind of escalations and how sharply the market seems to be reacting to them as well. What is your take right now? How are you looking at this $93 a barrel? And do you think that this could be the new normal in terms of prices? What are the kind of numbers you're looking at there?
Well, good afternoon, Shreyanshi. I'll tell you what, this time yesterday it was at $88 and it looked like a little bit of heat was coming out. Then President Trump said he is, as far as attacking Pickaxe Mountain, that's really thrown, I think, more dynamic to the market. It's up now $5.50 since then. You're running at $93.40 or close to it. And it's been a very, very solid move in Asia trade today. Now, where it runs, you've got, as it says on the screen, you've got 86.5 odd dollars for WTI. So it's very strongly bid up. There's every chance you could be $95 by this time, I would say, at the end of New York trade. And we're only a few hours away, probably 5 or 6 hours away till New York opens. I want to see what happens this evening as far as any escalation, and also keep an eye, of course, on Bab al-Mandab and the Houthis as far as Saudi tankers sailing through the Red Sea, Shreyanshi.
And just for viewers who possibly have just tuned in, what Peter is basically saying is by the time that the trading session in New York really ends for oil, all of the math that you have currently in place when it comes to oil prices is going to be drastically reshaped as well. Now, Peter, one more thing, in terms of the supply concerns, there's been a lot of escalations and there's been a very sharp reaction as well. In terms of the headlines that come out, how are you then looking at the kind of ranking that you maintain in terms of what you've been seeing markets react a lot to and what you've been seeing markets be a little more resilient towards?
Well, yeah, I mean, I looked at something from the IEA, and that was the International Energy Agency. I frequently visit their offices in Paris. And, it says its member countries still hold about 1 billion barrels, that's with a B, 1 billion barrels of emergency stocks in reserve, Shreyanshi. So there is a large amount of reserved capacity. But the other side of it is what happens as far as transportation, vessels going through the likes of Hormuz, and of course through the Red Sea, and whether there was going to be any choke points and how long this can run for. This could be, if you're looking back from a timeline perspective, it was only a couple of weeks ago and we were at $70. Now you're at nearly 95 and it's been bid up strongly. So obviously I think, everyone's got $100 in their sights, and it's hard to speculate where it's going to find a floor. But at the moment, it's escalating as far as geopolitical, and that's not a good sign for consumers or naturally countries who are very dependent on oil, the likes of India, of course.
Yeah, and Vandana, I'll also take it across to you. Let's also talk about some of the speculation, or not speculation, some of the forecasts that have actually come out. You do have the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development really talking about how Brent could really be hitting $100 a barrel before the year end. Now, of course, that forecast stands to very well change as well, given the kind of escalations and the way that the market has been reacting to it. What is your near-term forecast in the next, say, about 1 to 2 months? What are you then expecting in terms of oil prices?
Yeah, so there are two scenarios, of course. In case of escalations, if we do the calculation and math, the total affected barrels are 20 million. Peak disruptions is of around 8 to 12 millions, and global demand destruction is around 1 million barrel per day, and non-OPEC offset is around 1.5 plus 2 million barrel per day. In that scenario, even if we consider all those calculations, we are on the supply deficit side of around 8 to 10 million barrel per day. So this is the supply disruption which is sending the oil price higher. In case of escalation, we are expecting $95 in WTI, and if we consider the Brent crude oil, it should be of $105. And the scenario too is that if some kind of peace talk will go on, then in that case the lower band should be of here now $75 to $80. We are not expecting a kind of level of $65 to $70 in this scenario, because we are entering into the peak demand season and the driving season. There the crude prices demand is more or less higher as compared to the other time.
Absolutely. And Peter, I'll take it back across to you. Play devil's advocate for just a bit, right? You do have, of course, forecasts coming in with that triple-digit number very much within reach. And it's at least the bull case, if it's not the base case, or if it's not the only case that brokerages are also looking at. But that said and done, what are you then expecting in terms of what really breaks this sort of bullish momentum as well? What are your expectations on that front? Is there anything that at all worries you right now?
Well, it's two things, I think. If something was to be protracted, Shreyansi, and this I'm talking about the next matter of weeks, if not a month or two, then what is price capable of achieving? Also, the retaliatory actions coming from Iran, what it does to the neighbouring countries, the likes of Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, UAE, and of course the Saudis. So if that was to really become unhinged and really ratchet up, then that's not a good sign. We're talking about hyper movements as far as crude, and if you impact all of that supply, then there's obviously going to be a lot of hurt there, and that would naturally push prices considerably higher. So that truly is the essence of it. How long does it take? If it does get sorted out quickly, then that changes the momentum considerably. But by the looks of it, I think Iran has certainly dug in here, and they're not negotiating, or they're going to negotiate maybe not to the likes of what President Trump's after, and that's going to cause, again, I think a timeline that's going to be longer than what it could have, than what it should be, in the sense of having it sorted out quickly.
And Vandana, right before we wrap up this conversation as well, just quickly taking it across to you to try and understand what you think about gold as well. It's been maintaining some of that steady momentum. What are you then expecting by the way of prices when it comes to gold as well?
Yeah, so it's all scenario are remain the same, but yes, it's a smart money which is coming into this counter, which we were talking about from last few interviews, that from $5,600 to $4,000, it is making this counter very attractive, and we are entering into this traditional buying season from festive buying to wedding demand, and August and September we consider it as a very aggressive buying for gold and silver as well. So collectively lower range for gold and traditional buying and the money shift into this counter again by the institutional players, these are all sending gold prices higher. But yes, this time my reservations is that the upside is limited till the level of 4350, 4400. We are not expecting that kind of level of $5,000 or 5200 kind of level, because yes, inflation concern is still there, crash crunch is there, and the interest rate hike fear is still lingering on the market.
Absolutely, and thank you so much, Peter, as well as Vandana, for taking time out and joining us this afternoon. It is a very interesting afternoon that you're looking at, with Brent well above $93 a barrel. And there you go, that's everything that you should be keeping track of as well when it comes to prices. Let's also move on and take a look at some of the other developments that are important to track. And like I mentioned earlier as well, there's HDFC Bank that you should be looking at very closely. Slower growth, margin pressures, as well as governance concerns raise questions over once market's favorite HDFC Bank. Let's also talk about what is happening in terms of HDFC Bank losing its chain and some of the factors to consider when it comes to that.
Yes, if you look at HDFC Bank so far in 2026, the share prices are down nearly 23%, and this is the worst performing banking stock in the Nifty Bank Index, and also the worst start that HDFC Bank would have seen since 2008. So if you look at this chart, in 2008 the stock was down nearly 42%. Since then, only twice the stock has given a negative return in a calendar year, and that was in 2011 and 2013. But even that time, it was just -9% and -2%. Apart from that, all the years the stock has been giving a positive return. But in 2026, so far, 7 months out, we are down 23%, the worst possible start that HDFC Bank could see since 2008. Now, how important is this for any retail shareholders? Now, HDFC Bank is 100% owned by public. There are close to 45.3 lakh shareholders in HDFC Bank, of which 44.4 lakh are individual, which means that these are the non-mutual fund holding. Now, if you look at the mutual funds, they own close to 30.6% stake, and 59 mutual funds or AMCs via various schemes hold stake in HDFC Bank. And this is the most interesting plate here. Now, the value of this mutual fund holding is at close to 3.1 lakh crore rupees, which is nearly 8.3% of the total equity-oriented scheme AUM that the mutual fund industry has, and nearly 3.8% of the total mutual fund industry asset under management. So that's the exposure towards one single stock of the entire mutual fund industry. Hence, this 23% fall in the HDFC Bank share prices could be a pain point for all retail shareholders. Now, why is HDFC losing its sheen? Now, the loan growth has been moderated, and apart from that, the funding mix change is also impacting the company's profitability. There has been a continuous decline in a low cost deposits. Margins have been range bound, in fact, on a declining trend, and also the yields on asset has also been on a downward trend for the last 5 consecutive quarters. Apart from that, there have been governance concerns post the chairman exit, and also there is a delay in clarity on the CEO reappointment. Now, apart from that, there have been governance concerns post the chairman exit, and also there is a delay in clarity on the CEO reappointment. Now, given the fact that there is still no clarity about this CEO appointment, let's see how HDFC Bank has performed under Shashidhar. Now, for this, we are just giving a context of ICICI Bank performance as well during that time period. So over FY21 to FY26, if you see HDFC Bank's performance adjusted for the merger that was announced back then, the NII growth, CAGR growth has been around 10% while that of ICICI Bank is 18%. PAT growth of HDFC Bank is 12%, while that of ICICI Bank is more than double at 25%. Advances or total loan growth was 12% for HDFC Bank, 17% for ICICI Bank. The net interest margin, the bigger pain point for HDFC Bank has been the net interest margin decline, and that has gone down by around 70 basis points, while ICICI Bank's net interest margin has increased by 63 basis points. The net NPL change, that is a net NPA, that has come down by 23 basis points, which is good, but for ICICI Bank, it has come down by around 81 basis points. For return on asset change, that has come down by 10 bips, while that of ICICI Bank has increased by around 104 basis points. And lastly, the ROE or the return on equity for HDFC Bank has declined by around 270 basis points over FY21 to FY26, while that of ICICI Bank has increased by around 580 basis points. So, not that of great performance that we have seen from HDFC Bank over FY21 to FY26 when compared to its peer ICICI Bank.
Absolutely, and thank you so much, Samit, for getting us all of those highlights. Let's also listen into the commentary coming in from Abizar Devanji as well as Parag Thakkar when it comes to the banking pack as a whole.
More from the perspective of what this bank, which means so much for the investor, and indeed the significance that it has purely by way of its lending book. Could they have done things differently over the course of the last 3-4 years?
I mean, sitting in a studio, we can say that, Alex. But the reality is that HDFC has been through a merger of a disproportionate size. And ICICI had the same issue 2001. However, in 2001, there were favorable markets and cheaper interest rates. ICICI Bank would have fallen under the burden of their NPAs at that point in time because the DFI had NPAs. HDFC Bank is falling on the burden of lack of deposits. Now, if you just look at the larger issue, these mega bank merger, and of course, HDFC is multiple size of what ICICI was in 2001. So if you look at it, this merger will take an elongated period of time to stabilize. And the reason why it will take that much time to stabilize is one, the size is much larger. Two, we've had a huge issue on deposit runs, as in deposits moving to the capital markets. Three, the interest rate cycle has gone up. And in an upward interest rate cycle, to integrate a non-bank into a bank is a huge challenge. So I think that there are macro factors that have played a role in terms of HDFC stability. What HDFC is doing right, in my opinion, still is the fact that they are not trying to do aggressive borrowings on the wholesale market to be able to fund a increased loan growth.
All right, and there you go. So that's the key commentary also coming in from Abiza Divanji in terms of HDFC Bank as well and how you should be looking at that as well. Parag Thakkar also had a similar view and he also talked about how HDFC Bank has its own troubles as well. But let's also quickly take a look at the flashes that were there on the bottom of your screens, and the message that is coming in from Iran is that exchange of messages are possible with US as well, and that's the commentary coming in from Iran. That's something that reports are stating. Currently no negotiations are ongoing with the US, and that's the commentary also coming in. $94 a barrel is what you've reached when you talk about Brent as well, and that's the entire backdrop that you're looking at. That said and done, let's also move on and talk about Vedanta. That's in focus after the Delhi High Court rejected companies' plea challenging the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas's decision to refuse an extension of the production sharing contract. You do have Nimit Dixit standing by with all of those important details. Nimit.
Yes, not so good news for Vedanta here, as its challenge against the centre's decision to not extend its PSC contract for the Cambay Basin was upheld by the Delhi High Court. Now the Delhi High Court has said that Vedanta, whose contract expired, or the Cambay Basin, a production sharing contract between the government, ONGC and Vedanta, had ended in 2023. Interimly it was allowed to continue until the contract was reallotted. Vedanta had challenged this in court, and in January it had obtained a status quo which meant it could continue its work on the Cambay Basin in the meantime. But now the Delhi High Court has finally found that the centre's decision was correct, and it upheld the centre's decision in not extending Vedanta's rights over that contract. This is a big loss now for Vedanta, a contract that has been handling for quite a few years now. The final order in written is yet to come out. This had come out in court today, so we await the final order for details.
No, absolutely, and thank you so much, Nimit, for joining us with all of those details. So lots that we've covered on the show, with Brent being near $94 a barrel. It's risen $1 since we started the show as well, and that's the key commentary that you have coming in. So as we wrap, let's also take a look at a pause of 13 years after that. You do have one of the most prestigious honors in Indian businesses that is back right now. On July 26th, NDTV Profit brings back the Business Leadership Awards, celebrating the leaders, companies and entrepreneurs who've helped shape India's economic journey. And the nominees for Business Leader of the Year in public sector are from strengthening India's maritime capabilities to building a globally respected shipbuilding enterprise. This nominee has steered a strategic national champion to new heights. Captain Jagmohan, Chairman and Managing Director, Masgordok Shipbuilders, leading one of India's energy giants through a period of transformation, growth and evolving consumer demands. This nominee, in fact, has balanced scale with strategic vision. And Manoj Jain, Chairman and Managing Director, BEL, is who I'm talking about. The next nominee, revitalizing a cornerstone of India's industrial ecosystem. This nominee has championed execution, engineering excellence and renewed growth. K. Sadasivan Murthy, Chairman and Managing Director, BHEL. Driving the transition from power generation leader to energy transition champion, this nominee, in fact, is helping shape India's energy future. Gurdeep Singh, Chairman and Managing Director, NTPC. At the helm of India's energy explorer, this nominee has led with resilience, scale and strategic foresight in a rapidly changing global landscape. Arun Kumar Singh, Chairman and CEO, ONGC.
सुपरस्टार स्टॉक्स ऑफ द डे प्रेजेंटेड बाय टाटा अजूरा, हर रास्ते का सुपरस्टार।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
We are over, Jimmy.
हे, लाइफ में स्क्रैचेस तो आएंगे। गाड़ी के स्क्रैचेस को तो कॉस्मो पीपीएफ संभाल लेगा, आप अपना देख लो।
पर जब इंसान प्रकृति के साथ सामंजस्य को आत्मसात कर लेता है तो वो मधुर और लालन पोषण करने वाली बन जाती है। पी मार्क सरसों के तेल ने प्राकृतिक तरीके से सरसों के तेल को बनाया है शुद्धता और गुणवत्ता के साथ।
द मस्टर्ड स्पेशलिस्ट सिंस 1933, बरसों से सरसों।
कुछ तो बात है इस दिल में।
India Inc.'s most respected names chose India Inc.'s best and brightest.
These kinds of awards and jury lineup, you are truly giving it the right weightage.
The eminent juries who are here, and that itself speaks for the commitment towards highlighting the advantage which India is having. What I am looking for in this is that we should be awarding companies and individuals who have focused not only on growth but also on bringing good governance.
Be part of jury and vote on the people, the men, the women, the companies in India who have the right stuff is a great opportunity for us.
Who will earn India's top business honors? Find out at the NDTV Profit Business Leadership Awards. India Inc.'s most respected names chose India Inc.'s best and brightest.
I'm delighted to be chairing a committee of such distinguished fellow businessmen, bankers. It's just lovely to be back on this NDTV jury. I have been a fan of NDTV for a long time.
Many of the nominees are extremely close together in terms of what they've done.
Gender parity to be reflected while we choose leadership as well.
It's also important that how they are reshaping the industries.
We got a fantastic jury and we've left all decisions to the wisdom of the jury.
Who will earn India's top business honors? Find out at the NDTV Profit Business Leadership Awards.
Hi, I'm Tamanna Inamdar. Watch me on NDTV Profit, where I break down the day's biggest business stories. What happened, why it matters, and what it means for your money.
Hi, I'm Neeraj Shah. Watch me on NDTV Profit for the most incisive market intelligence and meaningful corporate
Good afternoon, you're watching Small Cap Bazaars on NDTV Profit with me Soumit Sarkar and my co-anchor Varsha. In the next half an hour, we'll take you through the most important small cap stocks that have been buzzing in trade either on the back of price or volumes. So let's see what's on the show today. Firstly, we'll be speaking with the management of Tinara Buzz. A strong set of numbers that the company has reported in the first quarter, but the key question to ask the management is that whether this kind of growth is sustainable, are the margins sustainable even going forward or not. Apart from that, we'll be also speaking about a stock called MPS. The stock is up nearly 26% in the last 5 trading sessions. Again, a strong set of Q1 numbers, margins at around 34% as against 27% on a YY basis. When it comes to Gulshan Polyols, the stock has seen its biggest single day gains since Feb 2026, and the stock is up nearly 60% since Feb 2026. Could be largely on the back of the ethanol related news. And we'll be also highlighting a stock called Huhtamaki India. Margins have expanded by around 300 basis points in the first quarter in the first quarter, in the second quarter of calendar year 2026, and the stock is up nearly 50% in the last 1 month. And lastly, we'll be speaking about a stock called Uflex. The stock is at its highest level since Feb 2026, and if you look at the gains that the stock has reported today, that's its biggest single day gains since April 2026. But if you look at the markets, fourth consecutive day of weakness that we are seeing. In fact, we are down nearly 200 points. We are well below the 24,000 crucial level that was there for the Nifty benchmark index. Nifty Bank Index, similar kind of pain that we are seeing for the banking names, Bandhan Bank being the pain point here. The stock is down more than 15%. Apart from that, if you look at the other sectoral indices in trade today, banking names are down in trade. But among the other sectoral indices, it's the FMCG that has been gaining. Nestle numbers were quite good, and that could have a rub-off effect on other FMCG names as well. While auto and defense is also up in trade. But on the losing side, we have real estate, PSU banks, IT, Nifty Pharma down more than 1.5% each in trade. Also, Varsha, when it comes to the Nifty small cap names, which are the key stocks that are buzzing?
Well, let's pull up. So a lot of stocks, of course, mainly on the back of Q1 numbers and volumes. You have Imami Paper Mills, which is in focus. This is on the good volume data that we are seeing on this counter. You have Kaya also, buzzing in trade. In fact, Kaya is almost buzzing on the back of volumes. I would say is up almost 18%, 22 times of its 30-day average. The volumes are up. You have Huhtamaki India, a good set of numbers, Q1 numbers. You have Wakefit also in focus. In fact, the stock is up almost 10%. Volumes are, of course, 8 times of its 30-day average. You have Premier Poly also buzzing in trade. Ganesh Benzoplast is also up almost 6% in trade. On the loser side, let's talk about that also. You have Bajaj Healthcare actually on the losing side. This is after what company posted Q1 FY27 numbers. Yesterday, even company had a con call. You have Oswal Pumps also down about 7% in trade. I Finance is down almost 5 to 6%. There you go, 7% in trade. You have Rolex Rings, Suntec Realty, which is sulking in trade. Tinna Rubber is also down almost 4%. Now this is normally the profit booking that we are seeing, because company has given a good set of numbers, and hence yesterday, if you see, the stock was up almost 20%, and today we are seeing that profit booking. Infobeam Technologies is also sulking. Solara Active is actually down almost 5%. But one stock which is in focus is Tinna Rubber on the back of Q1 FY27 numbers, a good set of numbers that the company has given. And to speak more about how was the quarter gone by and what is the guidance that would company give for the next 2 to 3 years, to talk more about that, we are here joined by Mr. Gaurav Shekhri, who is Joint Managing Director at Tinna Rubber and Infrastructure. Sir, welcome at NDTV Profit. Pleasure to have you. A very strong set of numbers, especially on the margin side, I would say. We've seen a good spike in EBITDA margin year on year. How much of this margin is sustainable, number one, and how much of this came from EPR monetization and the temporary factors?
Hi, good afternoon, and thank you for having me on your show. We are, of course, also very pleased with the numbers and the results of Q1. Regarding, the margin expansion that we have seen, we've been working over the last many quarters and have been giving that guidance in our earnings calls, that we focus a lot on optionality on raw material side to improve gross margins, moving up the value chain, exports. So a lot of these initiatives, have brought in this margin expansion and operational efficiency. Those are the factors driving the margin expansion.
And you also fully monetize the accumulated EPR credits in Q1. After this one-time monetization, what does the recurring EPR income opportunity look like maybe in further quarters?
Our EPR income, is fairly stable year on year. It is, between 25 to 30 odd crores annually. The monetization has happened in Q1 is only a factual statement that, what we had accrued as gains have actually been realized. And that's always a good thing, brings cash into the balance sheet.
Understood. And sir, also I just wanted to understand, by FY28 maybe, what share of revenue can come from, one is carbon black and TPO. As I understand, the trial runs for TPO have started and carbon black commercialization is expected by Q4. So just wanted to understand the contribution that you're expecting by FY28 when it comes to these segments.
I believe it will be about 20%. 20% of our top line will come from the TPO and the RCB plant that we have set up. And you rightly mentioned, we have commenced, in fact, we've commenced commercial production of the TPO part of the plant. It should start giving revenue to us from Q2 onwards. And RCB trials will happen in Q2, and we hope RCB commercial sales will begin in Q3.
You've already, when it comes to the Saudi investments, sir, you've already revised your timelines because of the geopolitical issues that we are going through. At what point, I would say, would you reconsider or defer the Saudi investment if uncertainty persists?
In fact, I was in Dammam day before yesterday. I was in Saudi. We are looking to, I went to assess the situation, and things are normalizing there. We are going to discuss internally. There is a very good chance that we will want to begin work on that plant within this financial year, possibly even in Q3.
Sir, given the strong growth that we have seen, what is the kind of internal target that the company has for FY27, if you could share with us?
We have given this guidance already, and we hope to maintain that. We should be anywhere between 675 to 700 crores of top line in the current financial year.
This would remain around this 21 to 22% band, or there is scope for expansion on that front?
You mean the EBITDA margin, right?
Yeah, right, EBITDA margin.
Yes. Well, we've given a guidance of about 18% for our business. Of course, we've done better, and we are going to do our best to protect this new benchmark that has been set by the company. And the contribution of, all the initiatives like focus on higher value product sales, exports, more optionality in raw materials. These are things which we have now managed to build into our business, and they should not change in any dramatic way. I'm confident that we should be able to do better than the 18% that we've been indicating.
21.7, that does not have any one-off. It is pure play operating leverage that has worked out for Tina Rubber, right?
Operating leverage and fundamental changes to better gross margins because of raw material optionality, higher value product sales, etc.
And sir, also just wanted to understand, you have also given guidance when it comes to FY29 that you want to reach 2,000 crores. That's the vision. Which businesses will contribute more of this growth? Will it be the traditional recycling business, or PCMB, or TBO, or any internal operations? So just wanted to understand what will be the key growth drivers for this 1,000 crores.
Just a minor correction, we've indicated 1,000 crores, not 2,000 crores.
Yeah, 1,000 crores, yes.
Yes, I heard 2,000.
No, sir.
Yeah,
1,000 crores.
So 1,000 crores by FY29. Interestingly, we are now, laying the, we are getting more strategic in our thinking as well, to see how we can harvest the benefits of this experience and knowledge we have gained. How can we leverage? How can we, build some adjacencies to, to grow to a much larger number? We are now focusing on that internally. But yes, on the FY29 1,000 crore plan, it'll be a combination of the polymer composites, master batch business, the TPO RCB business, and of course our core business of tire recycling, which will get us there. The ratios and are harder to tell you today, but these will be the drivers which will get us to that number of 1,000 by 29.
And sir, the South African operation is still loss making for you. What are the timelines to achieve that break-even point when it comes to this business?
Sure. So South Africa, our current run rate is of about 20-25 lakh rupees a month loss. in that operation. We are hopeful and getting more and more confident that from October this year onwards, we should be able to get it to break even. Our some new equipment is reaching South Africa soon, which will help us increase our production capacity there. These machines have been stuck in Middle East for the last 3 months because of the disruption in freights and the crisis in Middle East. Now they're finally on their way. So I'm hopeful that by October onwards we will achieve break even in South Africa.
Sir, good to have you on the show, and thank you for sharing the growth plans going forward. Well, that was the management of Tina Rubber, quite optimistic on their growth plan. Let's also welcome in our fundamental guest, Kush Gupta, Director of SKG Investments and Advisory. Kush, you heard the management. They're quite optimistic on their growth plans. They're expecting their margins to remain at this higher band now going forward. How are you looking at this count at current valuations?
Hi Somit, hi Varsha, thanks for having me on your show. So I heard the management and I think I'm quite in agreement with them. I think they've shown a very good operational leverage and delivering clean bottom line. If you look carefully, the employee expenses and the finance costs are growing significantly slower than the revenues. This showed that the management is quite justifiably, expanding their operations, and what might look initially like a one-time gain could sustain due to a lot of sectoral factors. Also, there is a sustained raw material price volatility in international scrap tire market. Pace of offtake for crumb rubber modifiers in domestic road building is also ticking up. If you look at the Indian tire and rubber recycling industry in India, they also have structural tailwinds with government's focus on sustainable infrastructure. So all these factors will continue to sustain this growth going forward. Also, if you see, they have multi-continental footprint. Now, while it can be slightly risky when it comes to Middle East, but their subsidiary incorporation in Chile is also doing very well. So, in my opinion, as geopolitical tensions continue to ease, their expansion in Saudi and Oman will give them better profits, as well as like the management said, South Africa also will kick in. So, we are expecting similar results going forward.
Well, that was everything you had to know about Tina Rubber. But before we get into the next small cap stock, let's slip into a short break.
Superstar Stocks of the Day, presented by Tata Azura, हर रास्ते का सुपरस्टार.
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे, केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार. विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी.
We are over, Jimmy.
हे, लाइफ में स्क्रैचेस तो आएंगे. गाड़ी के स्क्रैचेस को तो कॉस्मो पीपीएफ संभाल लेगा. आप अपना देख लो.
याद है ना मैंने क्या सिखाया था? सिल्वर के लिए स्टर्लिंग मार्क, गोल्ड के लिए हॉलमार्क और मस्टर्ड ऑयल के लिए सिर्फ पी मार्क.
इस बार तो माँ से भी बेहतर बना.
P-Mark, the mustard specialist since 1933. बरसों से सरसों.
कुछ तो बात है इस दिल में.
This is India Inc.'s Roll of Honor, recognizing the leaders shaping India's growth story, where ambition, enterprise and excellence meet. In the presence of the finance minister,
Welcome back. You're watching Small Cap Buzzers. Well, Huhtamaki India, let's pull that chart up because that stock is buzzing on the back of strong Q1 numbers. Let's see what those numbers are. Revenues up almost 23%. You have EBITDA, which is up 74%. Margins at 10% versus 7%. Net profit is up almost 76%. Let's see what drove this growth. Volumes remained healthy for the company. There was a strong volume growth which supported sales. Even packaging demand remained robust. the company passed on higher raw material costs, so that actually helped in margins. Price increases were supported by revenue growth. Now, the reason why you're seeing a good spike in margin, of course, one is better operating leverage, higher volume. If you see improved profitability for the company, a product mix improved, and operational efficiency supported margin for the company. So it's nothing but the efficiency and product mix, and a price hike has led to the spike in the margin that we are seeing when it comes to this counter. But there are still challenges which still remain. One is, of course, inflation pressure, which still continues. So you might see some kind of impact in Q2. Raw material cost remains a challenge, geopolitical uncertainty persists. But overall, a very good set of numbers, and hence we are seeing the stock is up almost 12%, 13% in trade. Kush, any view on Huhtamaki India? Good set of numbers, stock is up 12%. Should investors book profit considering the situation, the volatile situation that we are in? Kush, I think you're on mute.
Sorry. Hi, Varsha. So Huhtamaki has given a great set of numbers, and while the stock is trading at a PE of 16, I won't say it's very cheap, but I won't say it's too expensive either. So investors can stay in it for a little while. From a fundamental point of view, there are key drivers that are growing the volumes, which is online sales, growth in food and package industry. The company is also benefiting from pharma packaging tailwind. Pharmaceutical companies are shifting to single dose packs for rural health outreach. This has incrementally, driven up the sales. So this sectoral tailwind I feel, will continue to sustain. There is a sustained recovery in urban FMCG consumption volumes. So this will definitely help them to continue their number. And similarly, like we've seen with, Tina, their EBITDA margins have improved significantly. And this shows a clear operational efficiency. And bottom line recovery also indicates robust pricing power. So for these reasons, I think investors can still stay invested in Huhtamaki. Maybe if the P levels were slightly higher, I would have tread caution. But right now, I don't see any reason to be very cautious.
Right. The next stock in focus is Gulshan Polyols. Now, the stock is up nearly 60% since Feb. Is it the gains related to the ethanol-related news that we have been seeing that has been playing out for this counter? Let's get in Parth with more details on Gulshan.
That's right. Gulshan has been buzzing a lot in trade recently, and that is mainly because of the ethanol business, like you rightly mentioned. Well, the company is involved in three businesses: ethanol, grain processing, and mineral chemicals as well. And ethanol is their largest earnings contributor. If we talk a bit more about ethanol, then it contributes to around 60% of their revenue and profitability as well. Their current ethanol order book stands at 18 crore liters, and the management is targeting to bring that up to 22 crore liters by FY27. They have an installed capacity of 26 crore liters, and the OMC contracts have been giving them the visibility till 2032. About their margin outlook, management is expecting healthy ethanol margins for the next 2 to 3 years. The availability of FCI rice and also the soft maize pricing is what is aiding profitability for the company in the coming years, right now as well, and in the coming years as well. About the other businesses also, the grain business, the grain processing business is recovering from a down cycle, and also the mineral chemical business is giving them stable cash flows and margins. So from all the three segments, the company is poised to do really well in the upcoming years. About their FY27 outlook, management has shared their guidance, and they are targeting revenue in the range of 2600 to 2800 crores. EBITDA margins they are targeting between 10 to 12%. Also PAT margins they have guided for in the range of 5 to 6%. The focus will remain on utilization, cash generation, and lowering their working capital cycle as well. About the long-term growth plans, the company is doing a capex of 500 crores in FY28, and that is going to be for a specialty chemicals project that will act as an import substitution and give them products which are high margin in nature. The potential revenue from this opportunity is in the range of 1000 to 1500 crores, and management is targeting revenues up to 5000 crores in the upcoming 4 years as well. So this is the entire outlook about Gulshan Polyols and the reason why the stock has been buzzing lately.
Kush, any view on Gulshan Polyols? The stock has already moved up. Do you see there could be some more upside?
So Sumit, Gulshan is a very classic example of a company reaping rewards of its capital expenditure cycle. Their transition from pure starch player into a significant ethanol supplier for oil marketing companies is reflecting on the bottom line. So overall, while we are bullish and overweight on specialty chemicals and ethanol, Indian chemical industry is also benefiting from China plus one policy. I still am a little wary of the volatility in the grain prices. They are a grain-based producer, and the volatility on raw material sourcing costs could create slight problems in their expected margins and expected growth. And regulatory changes on the ethanol blending platform pricing structure could also be one of the risks. So while the company is poised to benefit from their capex cycles, I would say investors should watch out on the risks involved.
Thank you, Kush. Thank you for joining us and giving us your perspectives on the stocks that we're discussing trade today. Well, moving on to our next counter, that's Uflex. The stock has been buzzing in trade. Let's get in Jasmeet to understand what could be the potential reason behind this move in the counter.
Well, Samir, thank you for that. Before we get into the reasons why the stock is buzzing, let's quickly understand what does the company do. Well, company operates as a flexible packaging solution company where they provides various solutions for packaging material. Now, if you look at the stock performance, the stock has touched its highest level since Feb and gained the most since the April 2026. Now, if you look at the stock performance, over last 6 months, the stock has given a return of about 5%, while over a year, the stock has tanked nearly 20% in trade. Now, in terms of the overall Q4 performance, what's interesting here is the company has returned to profitable in the Q4 quarter of the company, while we are seeing a good growth with a revenue an uptick of 5.7%, and we've seen some impact coming in from the West Asian crisis as well, where there was supply chain shortage for the company, and the company has also stated that they have moved away and found other suppliers for the packaging material. Now, if you look at the over the year performance of the company for FY26, the entire year, the overall revenue saw an uptick of 2% while the EBITDA also grew by nearly 8% and the margin saw that extended pressure. Now, what interesting about this particular counter is over last 6 years, the overall revenue has nearly doubled from earlier 7,500 crore, it had reached to 15,000 crore as of FY26. But on the other hand, the net profit has stayed the same. If you look at the net profit 10 years ago for this particular counter, in 2016, it was roughly at 300 odd crores, and as of FY26, the net profit is still at 300 odd crores. So top line is growing, but the net profit is something that stays stagnant for this particular counter. And even the margin, for that matter of fact, it was somewhere between 15 to 18 odd percent few years ago, but currently it's again back to that range of 12 to 13 odd percent. So that's something that's troubling the stock. But apart from that, the overall top line growth remains strong for this counter.
So much, Jasmeet, for all the details. Well, next stock which is in focus is NPS. NPS is actually building on a strong Q1 numbers. In fact, the margins have spiked to 34% versus 27% last year. But we have Shivam to give us more details on that.
Yes, the MPS has posted a strong quarter-one results, and which is a company involved in B2B learning and platform solutions. Looking at the results, the company has witnessed the strongest opening quarter in history, and for the company. And in terms of revenue growth, that was mainly led by its research segment, which has seen a substantial growth. And in terms of education segment too, it has strengthened its role as the second growth pillar for the company. In terms of operating leverage, that has also seen a substantial improvement, and that was due to automation and AI implementations in the process that the company has mentioned. And in terms of clients, so that has increased to around 841 in terms of client additions versus 404 on YY basis, and this is due to the acquisition of AJE company, which is mainly into AI powered writing. In terms of geographic mix too, that has remained balanced, with North America constituting around 49% and Europe at 33%. In terms of financials too, the revenue has seen a growth of around 20% and profit has gone up by 43%. Also talking about the stock performance in past few months, also the company has witnessed a strong uptick of around 42% as well.
Well, thank you so much, Shivam, for all the details. Thank you so much. Well, viewers, after a pause of 13 years, one of the most prestigious honors in Indian business is back. On July 26, NDTV Profit brings back the Business Leadership Awards, celebrating the leaders, companies and entrepreneurs who have helped shape India's economic journey, and the nominees for Wealth Creator of the Year are: number 1, you have BSE, which enables capital formation to create wealth for generations of investors. You have Transformers and Rectifiers India, which has transformed engineering expertise into one of the market's most compelling growth stories. MCX India transformed market participation while delivering exceptional value creation. Himadri Specialty Chemicals, leveraging innovative in specialty chemicals and advanced materials. You also have Gallant Ispat, a story of manufacturing scale and discipline execution, transforming industrial capability and sustained growth. Garden Reach Shipbuilders, combining strategic national importance with operational excellence. Lastly, you have Newland Lab, wherein they've built a differentiated pharmaceutical business, creating lasting investors' value. Well, viewers, this is all the time that we have on this edition of Small Cap Bazaar. Stay tuned. Ask Profit afternoon edition coming up next.
Superstar Stocks of the Day, presented by Tata Azura. हर रास्ते का सुपरस्टार.
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे. केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ.
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार. विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी.
We are over, Jimmy.
Hey, लाइफ में स्क्रैचेस तो आएंगे. गाड़ी के स्क्रैचेस को तो कॉस्मो पीपीएफ संभाल लेगा. आप अपना देख लो.
माँ भी हमेशा पी-मार्क मस्टर्ड ऑयल में ही खाना बनाती थी.
कुछ तो बात है इस दिल में. P-Mark, the mustard specialist since 1933.
सरसों से सरसों.
India Inc.'s most respected names chose India Inc.'s best and brightest.
These kind of awards and jury lineup, you are truly giving it the right weightage.
I think it's heartening to see talent that there is across India Inc. We should be awarding companies and individuals who have focused not only on growth but also on bringing good governance.
Be part of jury and vote on the people, the men, the women, the companies in India who have the right stuff is a great opportunity for us.
For us, the biggest thing is trust. That's what we provide. We need leaders in India that can help take India being a global superpower.
We got a fantastic jury and we've left all decisions to the wisdom of the jury.
Who will earn India's top business honors? Find out at the NDTV Profit Business Leadership Awards.
Hello and welcome back to NDTV Profit. You're watching Ask Profit, a show that solves all your stock-related queries. This is, of course, the afternoon edition of the show. And over the next half an hour, we'll try to get to you all your stock-related queries. But first, a quick check of how the markets are doing, because yet again, a day today where you're seeing some pressure on the index. We are now comfortably actually continuing to be below the 24,000 mark, down almost 200 odd points. And the heat map also reflects this pain. So the banking names have largely been flattish in this week. You're seeing some pain today across on stocks like Indigo, on Dr. Reddy's, as well as on Infosys. Infosys comes out with earnings tomorrow. Jio Finance, SBI and Kotak Mahindra Bank are some of the other ones that are under pressure right now. What you are seeing is stocks results as well as updates and upgrades from brokerages wherever visible, and that is clearly visible on Bajaj Auto. You've seen a stock fly today up almost 5.5%. Yesterday, the results came during market hours, not too much of a reaction, but that follow-on buying visible there. Follow-on buying is also visible on TVS Motors, and we'll get to that in just a bit. But in terms of the sectoral heat map as well, because of good results as well as good commentary coming in from TVS as well as Bajaj Auto, if you can look at the sectoral heat map also, that is visible on the Nifty Auto today, apart from the other indexes as well. So you're seeing some moves on FMCG Auto up 0.27%. You're still awaiting big results from Mahindra and Maruti, and I think hence that will be visible on the margins of the car makers. But the Realty Index is down 2.5%. So again, all momentum being lost right now on this index at this point of time. Private banking also continuing to be under pressure. The advanced decline is the final one before we move on to your stock related queries as well. In the morning, almost 3:1 in favor of the declines is what we had seen on the advance to decline ratio. Right now as well, that continues to be the other pain point for the index. The mid cap, small caps too, if we can pull those up, reflecting the pain as well. Down almost 1% in terms of the mid cap 150, the small cap 250 as well, seeing much broader pain at 1.2% as well. But before we start taking your stock related queries and get to our guest, onto an NDTV Profit exclusive, India-China joint ventures could face fresh delays, and that is one of the biggest stories that we're breaking right now. My colleague Shrimi is now joining in to give us more perspective on the same. Shrimi, over to you.
Yeah, that's right. What we are picking up is that China's new outbound investment regime could be the next hurdle for India-China joint ventures, with companies now potentially requiring approval not just from New Delhi but from Beijing as well before any deal could move ahead. People familiar with the matter said that the China new outbound overseas framework, which came into effect on July 1st, may delay the implementation of deal even after they have secured approval from the Indian government under the Press Note 3. Now, India has recently cleared quite a few China-linked manufacturing proposals, including the big ones involving Dixon Technology, Vivo and Uno Mindas, while other proposals such as Amber Oppo are still in the pipeline. Now, sources say the companies that have already received Indian approval are now engaging with their Chinese partners to secure outbound investment clearances from Beijing, but those approvals could take time. For deals that are still awaiting PN3 clearances, companies are assessing whether they will need to first secure approval from their Chinese authorities before moving ahead with their India's application. What we understand so far is that discussion between Indian companies and their Chinese counterparts are already underway, although regulatory clarity is expected only after the first few cases are processed. So, for context, the China revised overseas investment rules expand scrutiny beyond the capital flows to include equity investment, governance rights, shareholder funding, technology transfer, and even the data-related consideration. Now, India is also understood to be treated as sensitive destination under Beijing outbound investment assessment. So, to sum up, this additional layer of approval could definitely lengthen the timeline for China-led investment in India.
Well, thanks so much for that, Shrimi, getting us that.
So, to sum up, this additional layer of approval could definitely lengthen the timeline for China-led investment in India.
Well, thanks so much for that, Shrimi, getting us that PN3 approval in India. If it requires another scrutiny and you're seeing a spark reaction coming in on a stock down 2.5% and falling at this point of time, let's look at Amber also, because as we have seen, both those companies, as Shrimi mentioned, of course, Oppo deal with Amber is the new one, and that stock is also now down at its lowest end of the day, lowest point of the day as well. You also have for Dixon a few approvals already in place within the ECMS scheme, but one more is yet to go through apart from Vivo. Vivo just got an approval, but the Zhongxing Yuan Precision Manufacturing Agreement, they've also applied for an ECMS scheme, still requires a PN3 approval. That will be another one to watch out for in the near term, and we'll get you all of those moves, continue to track in the EMS space. But let's start your stock related queries now, and welcome in our guest for today as well. We're now being joined by Sachin Janardhan. He is of course the independent market expert on the technical side of things. Also being joined by Nandish Shah, AVP PCG Research and Advisory for Motilal Oswal, joining in. Gentlemen, both of you, thank you so much for joining in today. The first question coming through, and this one's on Idea Forge. A viewer, Kapoor, is holding these shares at 955. Sachin, he wants to know whether he should still continue to hold this counter, starting to stabilize at that 800, 850 odd mark. What would you recommend here?
He can hold with a stop loss of 785 basically, as the continue basis, the trend is up on a daily, weekly and monthly basis. There is no problem, he can hold.
Also, Sachin, if we can get a quick view from you on the index as well, because we've seen pressure yet again coming in, and we are below the 24,000 mark. What are some of the other levels? Is 23,800 that big support that we all are watching out for?
So there are two words I would like to say, which is 7 and 8. So basically the index is trading within 7th and 8th range only. So the overall range is 24,400 on the upside, and on the downside 23,800. Till the time we are not getting any kind of a breakout or breakdown, we are into a very bigger range, and below 23,800 we need to be very cautious, as only an intraday break could also spark basically very selling pressure. At the same time, if we are closing above 24,550 levels, we can see above 24,800 and 25,000 levels on the upside. But would like to warn as well, as any kind of a breakout or breakdown, it will lead to a very faster levels. So we need to be very cautious about these levels which I have given right now.
Got that view, Sachin. But take across the next question. This one's coming in from Ray, who's from Bengaluru. Asking on Reliance Industries, he's holding shares at 1420 odd, and ask if wants to hold it for the near to medium term. Asking if it's a good time to average now. Nandish, good afternoon. Welcome to the show. Would you recommend it's a good time to average down on Reliance Industries?
So the Reliance declared their numbers on Friday, which was about more or less above street expectation, especially on the oil and gas profitability. And the retail numbers continues to remain softer for the last 2 quarters or so. So in case he's looking for averaging opportunity, this is a good time to average Reliance currently. We have a buy rating on Reliance.
Got that view. And viewers, you can also call us on the landline numbers that are flashing on the top of your screen, and speak to our guests directly on the stock related queries too. The next one coming in, it's on data patterns. Our viewer Rakshit, who's from Mumbai, is holding on to this counter at 2850. Wants to know if he should still continue to hold. He's almost up 80% almost at this point of time. But what would you recommend here, Sachin? Is this momentum of today likely to continue? Should he continue to hold?
First of all, congratulations to the viewer, because he is holding with a very good stock, as overall trend on a daily, weekly and monthly basis are up only. Structure is also very good, making a good higher high, higher low. One thing I would like to give is the trailing stop loss methodology. So trailing stop loss he should keep around 3,800 levels, and he can continue to hold the stock, as we can see more upside in the coming days and weeks.
Got that view. But the next one, and this question is on Maruti Suzuki. Ajay, who's from Pune, is holding on to these shares, but at 16,400. So he might have bought it at that previous upcycle that we saw from 12,000 all the way up to 17,000. Asking if he should still continue to hold, sell, or is there a good level to add more? Nandish, would you recommend that? We have the results in about 10 days time, but how are you looking at the stock? We've seen very strong volumes in last quarter. Would you recommend him to add at this point?
So as you rightly said, we have seen a very good volume growth for Maruti, and yesterday they had reported that they are likely to increase the car prices by nearly 30,000 from August month. So most of the input cost pressure would be taken care of with this increase in price, and with higher volumes and the new capacity coming in, and also a lot of export opportunities for Maruti, it is a good time to average at these levels.
Okay, got that view, Nandish. Let's go across and take our caller for today. This one's from Mysuru. Mohan is dialing in for a stock query. Mohan, very good afternoon. What's your query?
Good afternoon. I've just got caught trade tech, 5 shares at the rate of 2581. I just want to know long-term perspective whether I can add these shares for long.
Got it. Nandish, any coverage on car trade tech? It's rebounded yet again post touching the 1800 mark, went to 3000, back to 1800, and now again seeing a positive momentum. Would you recommend more on to continue holding?
So, what is the car trade is not there under our what is the coverage universe. I won't be able to comment on it.
Anything, Sachin, that you like on the charts? Is that momentum yet to continue? I spoke about the moves. This one's going back to the 3100 mark. Is that something that's visible on the charts right now?
So stock is in a uptrend basically on all the time frames and making a higher high, higher low. Only thing is the immediate resistance for the stock is around 3080, 3100. If that is not crossing, then that is a hurdle. On the downside, 2600 is a good support. If that is broken, then one should exit the stock.
One should exit. Got it. Next one that's coming in is from Kesha, who's from Chennai, asking on KEC International, holding shares at 502. So, might have bought it either recently or has held on through the gains, and it's back at that sub 500 level. But Nandish, any view that you have on KEC?
We have a buy rating on KEC with the price target of nearly 630 based on fundamentals, and the likely investment horizon should be more than 1 year. And with lot of power, T&D capex going on, KEC would be one of the prime beneficiaries. So if the horizon is for a longer term, we would suggest continue to hold it.
Continue to hold it. Got it. For the next 1 year is what Nandish recommends on KEC. But the next one, and this one's in the realty pack, we've seen the index starting to give up some of those gains yet again. But on Mahindra Life Spaces, Raja has actually bought these shares at 408 and asking if he should still continue to hold on for the next, if he should continue to hold on or average down as well. Nandish, any view directly either on Mahindra Life Spaces, or if you like anything from the realty space, what's your top pick?
So recently we upgraded the realty pack as a whole. And our favored bet is Lodha, DLF, and Godrej Properties there. Mahindra Life is also there in our coverage with a buy rating. So if the horizon is for a longer period of time, now Mahindra Life space is a good stock to hold on.
And any targets that you have currently on Mahindra Life Spaces as well?
Yeah. So our target is around around 430.
430. Okay, got it. The next one's coming in on, and it's a caller from Hyderabad now. Vaishya is dialing in for a stock query. Good afternoon. Welcome to the show. What's your query?
Yeah, good afternoon to all of you, sir. I want to buy Dixon Technology fresh. What is the right time to enter? Is this the right time to enter? Just wanted to know the 6 months view on this.
Well, we actually just broke a big story as well on Dixon Tech as well, and on the approvals through. But Nandish, I don't know if you had a chance to listen to the big story that my colleague Shrimi broke out, and if and we'll of course await a lot more approvals if that is much needed on the EMS pack. But within the EMS space, any coverage, and is Dixon one of them? What would you recommend?
So under EMS, Dixon is there in our coverage. So if the view is for a longer period, I say about 18 months or 24 months, then Dixon Technologies, continues to remain a good buy. So the horizon should be measured here. So if the viewer is looking for a 6 months view, I guess that Dixon might not be possibly give you the kind of returns which you're looking for.
Got it. Well, we of course await some updates as well coming through. As my colleague Shrimi pointed out, that the PN3 approval might not be the only thing that's required for a green light, because from Beijing side also there could be some increased scrutiny at this point of time. So that's the reason why the stock's reacting. So is Amber Enterprises. But hopefully, Vaishya, that answers your question. Next one is on Central Bank. Sriram, who's from Chennai, is holding on to shares at 41 rupees. He's been holding on for a while now. Sachin, any trend on the charts that's visible? Should he still continue to hold?
Trend on the chart is down on all the 3 time frames. Basically, better to exit this stock and can actually go in the JNK and or Maharashtra Bank.
JNK or Maharashtra Bank, got it. But let's take another caller now from Tirupati. Gopinath is dialing in for a stock query. Gopinath, good afternoon. Welcome to the show. What's your query?
Good afternoon, sir. I want to know the entry level for SCPL for long term.
Okay, for the long term. Okay, all right. All right, got to your question. Nandish, I don't know if, it's because it's a very smaller name. I don't think you'd be having coverage on Standard Engineering. Is that right?
Correct. We don't have a coverage on Standard Engineering.
But, okay, got it. But in terms of, Sachin, if you can help me out with this one as well, because it's seen a very sharp move, right, ever since listing. But, so should Gopinath wait for it to cool off a little bit, probably then take an entry?
Enter on dips. Basically, any kind of a dip around 5 to 10% will be a healthy correction in the stock. And we can see the upside around 200 and 300 or 350 levels on the upside.
350, got it. The next one, and this one's on Apollo Microsystems. Sujan has actually bought these shares at 110 rupees, so bought it at very, very attractive levels. Wants to know if if this is a right price to add more, or should he just continue to hold his current stock holdings? Nandish, any recommendation either on Apollo or from the defense pack, anything that you like?
So we have been very positive on the defense pack, and we feel that the defense is likely to have a structural, longer term bet. And our preferred bet here is Bharat Electronics, which is a PSU and has a decent good order visibility. Even Apollo Microsystems ticks majority of all the boxes. And if it is held for a longer period, I say about 18 to 24 months, at least we can say about 40 to 50% returns for Apollo Micro.
Apollo Micro, got it. Well, let's now start the rapid fire round in this edition of the show. Sachin as well as Nandish, keep your answers as short as possible so that we can take as many queries in the next 3 minutes. First question on IIFL Capital. Murli from Hyderabad has bought these shares at very attractive levels of 92 rupees. Sachin, would you recommend him to hold?
Hold.
The next counter is on Chennai Petro. Our viewer is holding shares at 932. Sachin, what's the recommendation on the charts for this one?
Buy.
And what's the target as well? Because it's rallied from his buying price also. What's the target for Chennai Petro and what's the timeline?
14 to 1500 will be attractive targets and can be waited for 6 to 12 months.
6 to 12 months, got it. The next question is on Acme Solar. Our viewer is holding shares since the IPO price. This is Raja from Vijayawada. Wants to know if he can still continue to hold. Any view here, Nandish?
So he can continue to hold. Our target is around 450.
450, got it. Next one's on Karur Vyasa Bank. Padma from Bengaluru has bought these shares at 295. Sachin wants a short-term view. If she can continue to hold. We saw good results, then that reaction. Is it good on the charts too?
Yes, hold.
Hold, got it. Next one is from Kishore from Bengaluru. He wants to know, within the power sector, what's a good pick for the long term? Anything that you like within power, cables, ancillaries? Nandish, right now, what's your topic?
Tata Power and JSW Energy in the power segment.
In the power segment, got it. Next one, and this actually is on Shakti Pumps. Jayashree from Tamil Nadu wants to enter this counter. What's a good price level that you would want to watch out for, Sachin?
Trend is down, avoid basically.
Avoid this, got it. Next one's Cummins. Dilip from Kolkata is holding shares at 5671. Wants to know, Nandish, what's the view on the stock now? Should he continue to hold?
Yes, he should continue to hold, and in case there is any dip, he can buy also. Our target is around 6,600.
Got it. Mohan wants to know about Nalco. If it's a good time to buy right now, would you recommend that? Sachin has seen a very sharp move.
Yes, he can buy and he can keep a stop loss around 10% on the downside and at least 10 and 15% on the upside target will be there.
Is Vishal Mega Mart a good buy at the current price? Nandish, we've seen weaker results from in the retail space. Any view here directly or in the space on Vishal Mega Mart?
Vishal Mega Mart is a buy, and our target is around 160.
160. Okay, Bajaj Consumer is the next one. Our viewers holding shares at 338 wants to know if he should continue to hold. Would you recommend that, Sachin?
Yeah, you can hold.
JSW Infra as well, Sachin. Puneet Saxena from Ghaziabad wants to enter the stock in a 6-month target price. What would that be?
If you want to enter only above 360 levels. In that case, if we are getting a close, 400 and 420 will be the target.
Got it. Well, that was the last question of the rapid fire. Sachin as well as Nandish, thanks so much for helping us solve all those stock related queries in the last half an hour. We solved 76 queries over the 2 sessions. So thank you so much for your help. But viewers, out of time on this edition of the show. Stay tuned though. India Market Close comes up next.
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी
We are over, Jimmy.
हे लाइफ में स्क्रैचेस तो आएंगे, गाड़ी के स्क्रैचेस को तो कॉस्मो पीपीएफ संभाल लेगा, आप अपना देख लो।
पर जब इंसान प्रकृति के साथ सामंजस्य को आत्मसात कर लेता है तो वो मधुर और लालन पोषण करने वाली बन जाती है। पी मार्क सरसों के तेल ने प्राकृतिक तरीके से सरसों के तेल को बनाया है शुद्धता और गुणवत्ता के साथ।
The mustard specialist since 1933. बरसों से सरसों।
कुछ तो बात है इस दिल में।
India Inc.'s most respected names chose India Inc.'s best and brightest.
I'm delighted to be chairman of such distinguished fellow businessmen, bankers. It's lovely to be back on this NDTV jury. I have been a fan of NDTV for a long time.
Many of the nominees are extremely close together in terms of what they've done.
I think it's also important that how they are reshaping the industries, commercial activities which they are into. And it's a very judicious mix of people to choose from. My compliments to the team.
Who will earn India's top business honors? Find out at the NDTV Profit Business Leadership Awards. India Inc.'s most respected names chose India Inc.'s best and brightest.
I'm delighted to be chairman of such distinguished fellow businessmen, bankers. It's lovely to be back on this NDTV jury. I have been a fan of NDTV for a long time.
Many of the nominees are extremely close together in terms of what they've done.
Gender parity to be reflected while we choose leadership as well.
It's also important that how they are reshaping the industries.
We got a fantastic jury and we've left all decisions to the wisdom of the jury.
Who will earn India's top business honors? Find out at the NDTV Profit Business Leadership Awards.
Hi, I'm Tamanna Inamdar. Watch me on NDTV Profit, where I break down the day's biggest business stories. What happened, why it matters, and what it means for your money.
Hi, I'm Neeraj Shah. Watch me on NDTV Profit for the most incisive market intelligence and meaningful corporate conversations.
And I'm Alex Matthew. Markets, mutual funds, insurance, personal finance. I help you cut through the noise and make smarter financial choices. And here's where you can watch us. Hi, thanks so much for joining in. You're watching India Market Close. My name is Alex Matthew. With me is Mahima Vachajani, and we're coming to you live from the NDTV Profit Suzlon studio here in Mumbai. And it seems like it's a dull day of trade. That will be borne out when we pull up the intraday chart for the benchmark Nifty 50, trading at the low point of the day, Mahima. And the last couple of days have been characterized by a few very heavyweight stocks.
Correct.
Pulling down the benchmark.
Yeah.
Is that the case today?
No, unfortunately today I think the case is crude, because crude is spiked on the back of geopolitical developments, and we've slid below the 24,000 levels, which were the crucial levels that we were tracking for the Nifty 50 at least. And there you go, a 3% spike in Brent, now at 93.7. It almost touched 94.2 and came back to that.
The reason why that is taking place is that you're suddenly having worries about the Houthi rebels blocking out supplies from Saudi Arabia, and that is important from India's perspective as a major buyer of oil as well, because the route that Saudi Arabia was using to export oil has gotten affected. In fact, the news this morning was that 2 tankers had to turn around, and that is the reason why you're seeing that supply pressure on crude oil have a bearing on the prices as well. From our perspective here in India, a higher crude oil price is always negative. So pull up the heat map for the Nifty 50 and let's see, it's going to be a large amount of red on the screen, right? Significantly more than you saw yesterday. In fact, yesterday you had green all the way till this point and you had a few stocks that were doing badly. Today you have the likes of Interglobe Aviation that has slipped even further, and that's one of the first stocks that will get affected when crude oil prices go up. On the other end of the spectrum, you have Bajaj Auto that is gaining from strength to strength.
Reacting.
Finally, right? I think a lot of people were screaming from the rooftop saying, good set of numbers, the numbers look good. In fact, the management spoke to us this morning, Mahima, and they were quite confident. Rakesh Sharma spoke to us. He's a joint managing director. He spoke about how the export market looks really good for them and the domestic issues that have been plaguing them. And look, it's 25% of their portfolio, but they have products lined up and things are starting to look better.
And this kind of growth on a higher base, right? That shows the strength at which the company has been growing. And Nestle is the other one where we saw a great set of numbers. I mean, this has been the third quarter where it's been a double-digit growth in terms of revenue, EBITDA, as well as net profit. 25% growth is not something that the street was expecting.
In a 48% tough environment.
In a tough environment. And they've done good on margins as well. A 24% margin, despite of ad spends going up by 40%. So most certainly positive numbers coming in for both Bajaj as well as Nestle. I think Tata Consumer also picking up on those cues coming in.
And you're hearing that there are price hikes being taken by HUL. That's a report that we'll get you in just a bit. But let's pull up the contributors chart for the Nifty 50. You will see that there are still a few names that are in this list. In fact, this is a similar list. ICICI Bank makes it to the list today. It was in the green yesterday, but HDFC Bank, SBI, Reliance Industries. These 3 stocks have proven to be a major drag in the recent past. Of course, to a certain extent, that's getting mitigated by Bajaj Auto and Nestle and HUL, as well as Titan to a certain extent. But pull up the broader markets as well, Mahima, because today you're seeing selling across the board. So you have cuts of over 1% for the mid-cap index, similar cuts, if not more. In fact, for the small cap index. We're at the low point of the day across the board, and you will likely see that in the advanced decline ratio as well. Pull that up. So this is the heat. Okay, this is this sectoral heat map, and it's largely red, but the advanced decline ratio will show you that it's a lot of advances and they're ruling declines and they're ruling the roost.
And unfortunately, the gap is also widening, which shows the pressure that's there in the broader end of spectrum, right? The BSE 500 quickly before we go on to our guests and take the views on what to do next with the benchmarks. At least data patterns, of course, on the back of that auto win up 12%. M&M Finance, good set of numbers. Bajaj Auto also again on good set of numbers. But on the flip side, you have Bandhan Bank now down almost 17% on the back of that guidance cut. I mean, numbers were not that bad, right? But it's the guidance cut which has led to that steep fall in the stock. MedPlus also on the back of softer Q1 earnings. CSB also
Bank on
again
the back of numbers.
Yes.
There has been a worsening of asset quality, credit costs going up, and NIM pressure as well. So all of those factors come into play.
Suntech, Jubilant, even India Mart and MSRIL, all of these on the back of numbers. So very earnings specific in the broad end of spectrum.
Absolutely. Let's bring on board our guests for today. We've got Nilesh Jain as well as Neerav Ashar joining us this afternoon. Gentlemen, thanks so much for taking the time. I want to start with you, Nilesh, first on the charts, because we're seeing a bit of a breakdown today and we've broken below that 24,000 mark. The question is, now that we've broken past that sentimental level of 24,000, how much downside do you see?
Very good afternoon, Alex. Good afternoon, Mahima and everyone. So yes, today we have seen a breakdown from its 24,000 psychological barrier, as well as if you see the 21-day moving average, which was kind of providing some bit of a support, has also been taken off decisively, which was placed at 24,100. Now the next crucial support that seems to be placed at 23,900, that's the 100-day moving average. I think Nifty should find some bit of support at those levels and we may see some bit of rebound going forward. So today's fall, I think some bit of overdone and we can expect some bit of a pullback move going forward. Although there is still some more room left, maybe around 80 to 90 points further on the lower side. Looking at the volatility index in the VIX, which once again spiked up by close to 7% today, and once again it has surpassed 13 mark, is a bit of cause of concern, but it is still at a comfortable level below 14. And coming to the bank Nifty, where we have seen actual breakdown, and if it breaks below 57,000 decisively, then we are likely to see unwinding of the position, because 57,000 was a strike on derivative front where we have seen the meaningful OI concentration. Now we may start witnessing some bit of unwinding of the position. So that's the weakest link amongst all. So Bank Nifty should be on radar. If it breaks below 57,000, then we may see another 500 point on the lower side.
Understood. And what individual stocks do you find attractive this afternoon, Nilesh, if at all?
Yes, so one buy and one sell recommendation. First of all, on the long side, Exide Industries is looking very strong. We have seen a constant formation of a high top and high bottom, and the major structure still looks strong. We can expect a follow-up move to continue on the upside towards 465 to 475. And stop loss can be placed at somewhere around days low at 434. That will be the stop loss, and immediate target would be 455, followed by 465 and 475. On the short side, there are many stocks, in fact, but specifically CDSL has given a breakdown today and still looks weak for 1300 kind of level on the lower side. And stop loss should be placed at 1355. Immediate target would be 1300, followed by 1275.
Right, okay, so those were the picks for the afternoon by Nilesh, but it's time for our stock of the day, and I mean, arguably it has to be Nestle, right? It posted a great set of Q1 numbers. In terms of key highlights, I think the biggest highlight for me was that there was a strong beat on margins despite of inflationary pressure caused by the geopolitical scenario. All metrics, that is your revenue, PAT, EBITDA, have seen a double-digit growth across metrics. The sales growth, of course, is led by strong volume growth. They don't give those numbers, but a 25% top line growth means that a high double-digit volume growth has also taken place. All four product groups have also seen strong double-digit growth along with volume growth coming in. The interesting part was that commodity markets have remained mixed and the outlook still remains cautious, but they're able to manage that inflationary pressure is what the commentary is suggesting. Now, in terms of the numbers, standalone numbers, revenue saw an uptick of 25%. EBITDA, if you take a look at the numbers, it saw an uptick of around 40%. Margins stood at 24.